Evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. Shadow Edge Media, I'm Dustin Moore, here with you for some Tuesday night racing. And after 4 weeks of racing in Season 26 of the Forza Spec Racing Series, it all comes down to this here tonight. As we see, looking at the leaderboard, Mr. Biggie, Salty Bonkers, Cratrium, Blister Gypsy, Audrex, Darkser, Disco Joint, all mathematically in the running for the championship. Now, only 3 of those drivers really are in a good spot to come away with the championship, Mr. Biggie, Salty Bonkers, or Cratrium. But if something were to happen, we've got other drivers that are waiting there in the balance to snap up that championship here in Season 26 and be the driver who picks the vehicle for season number 27. Looking at the pit lane, Adversity was here. Cry MCN was here. Slow Motion Fire. T-Frey says, beautiful shot of some of the drivers in turn 1 right now, says T-Frey. So he's taking a look at the drivers as they're doing some testing out there. Out at Long Beach. Yes, and we are heading out to Long Beach. It's a beautiful, beautiful evening here in southern Texas. A beautiful evening. And for those of you who were watching IndyCar this past weekend in Austin, that very much indicative of the great weather that we're having here in South Central Texas. But we're heading out, we're hitching a ride on a jet plane out to Long Beach, California, to watch 57 laps of the Formula Mazdas go around the track. And I put it on Twitter. I said, regrettably, this is the final time that we'll see the green flag wave for these drivers in these cars here this season. But, man, what a great race that we're going to have to be the capstone for what has been a season that has been the most exciting of the 3 that we've broadcast here on Shadow Edge Media at this point. The first being in the Fiat X19s last season there, season 25, in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. And here in season 26, these Formula Mazdas, they have not disappointed whatsoever. I told you at the beginning of the season I was eyeing these as a vehicle for a Mileage Masters event, but I was so glad to see that the Blister Gypsy, who won Season 25, glad to see that he was the one opting for this vehicle in Season 26. And again, it has not disappointed. This has been some stellar racing from front to back, even though not all these drivers, obviously, that you're seeing on the leaderboard, not all of them have been vying for the top spot. The beautiful, beautiful thing here about the Forza Spec Racing Series is that regardless of your skill level, you are welcome to get out on the track, enjoy some, I don't want to necessarily call it pseudo-endurance racing. It's really more lengthier lapped events. So obviously in the Mileage Masters series, we have timed races which run from 1 hour to 2.5 hours. Here in the FM4, they do have lapped events, which oftentimes run for a good, 45 minutes or so. So great opportunity for you to increase your skill level, test your skill level against other drivers out on the track, and take part in the action coming up in Season 27. Again, what vehicle will it be? We don't know. We'll have to find out when the champion selects that at the conclusion of Season 26, and we will have an unofficial champion here at the conclusion of the broadcast. Then the race organizers will go ahead and set up everything points-wise in their little calculator to make sure that whoever is the champion is definitely by the points, the champion, because what they're doing here in season number, well, not in season number 26, it's just here in week number 5, because there is only one race, the finale, they double the points. So for those racers, or the racer who completes the race in first, comes out on top, that's 100 points. And if you balance that against your other weeks, the other 4 weeks leading up to tonight, the week in which you have the fewest amount of points, that's the one that gets dropped, and then ultimately the driver of those 4 best weeks, or 4 top weeks with the most points, comes away as the champion. So we'll have an unofficial winner. There's a chance that things could shuffle around a little bit, again, depending on what those drop weeks look like. So we won't have official results here on this broadcast. We do rerun this broadcast immediately following tonight's event, so you will be able to watch this broadcast in its entirety again, should you not be able to catch all of the racing action here live, at which point the race organizer, Slow Motion Fire, usually drops in the pit lane, or the chat as it's otherwise known in the Twitch community, and lets everybody know that the points have indeed been updated. All right, so there you go. There's the setup for tonight. You see the storyline that is emerging there with Mr. Biggie looking to defend his lead against Salty Bonkos and Kratrium. Kratrium having a great season here in Season 26, but more so Salty Bonkos. Salty Bonkos has had a stellar year. You look a little bit, or not year, but season. You look a little bit further down there in 6th position, SFM Darkser, unfortunately, because of disconnect back there in week number 2 out at Road Atlanta, finds himself there in 6th position. Should be a lot higher up on the leaderboard, if not at the very top of the leaderboard here in week number 5. That being said, much like in the real world, when you have tough luck, in our case, a disconnect, in the real world case, a blown engine or some other critical malfunction, things happen and you got to press on. Well, that's exactly what SFM Darkser is doing here in week number 5, and we'll see him back out on the track. And again, still mathematically in the running, although it's going to take a lot. He's going to need some help from those top drivers for things to work out his way. And as I took a look at the lobby, SFM Darkser is definitely in there, going to be racing with these folks here tonight. Any of our drivers who would like to chat with me before the qualifying begins, before the 3 laps around Long Beach, and yes, we are heading out to Long Beach, the full circuit, all 1.97 miles of it. Any drivers who want to talk to me beforehand, hop into that queue for interview section, and of course, we'll talk to some drivers before the race, and no doubt we'll talk to some drivers after the race. And it's been the most, second to the racing, it's been the most fun experience that I've had here in the last season, almost 2 seasons now here of FM4, with regards to chatting with the drivers pre and post race. It's always a lot of fun. These guys and gals, very, very good at getting on the mic, speaking not necessarily their mind as if they're unleashing, just a bunch of, just the words are just flowing out, no matter if they're good or bad. But they get on here, they answer the questions. They're very methodical or strategic in the way that they answer the questions, and we get a lot of great insights from these guys before they head out on the track, and of course after they complete the races. So again, we'll be looking for those drivers. I don't see anybody in there right now, but maybe we'll get some people or someone jumping in there. And I see Slow Motion Fire saying Shadow is looking for interviews. He's throwing that there in the Discord. So maybe we'll get somebody to drop in here. Dino Dad Shadow, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in, folks. If you do not yet have Dino Dad Shadow followed in your Twitch followed list, make sure you add Dino Dad Shadow. Streaming almost every day through the week, I do believe. So if you throughout your week, maybe you're at work and you're craving a little bit of Forza in your ear while you're taking care of some work, look up Dino Dad Shadow. Again, add him to your followed list, and that way when he goes live, you get that notification. And I think Dino Dad Shadow, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe assembling another season of the Wheel Users United or United Wheel Users. I might have that acronym flipped around, or the name of the league flipped around there. But if you have a driving wheel and you're looking to race in a series or a league that is specific for drivers who are racing with the wheel, be on the lookout for that next season, which I think is going to be, there you go, right there in the pit lane saying, yes, it is in the works. So keep posted. Stay up to date with what's what, and then you could join Dino Dad Shadow and his crew in racing around in Forza Motorsport 7 with a wheel. All right, I asked for drivers to join us here in the driver's spotlight. I see Fear the Fun. Fear the Fun, here we are, Tuesday night racing, Formula Mazda, the last time, Season 26 out at Long Beach. Are you pumped? Because I know I am.
I'm actually very pumped, yes, sir.
What is it about? Is it the track, or is it the car, or is it the group of folks that you're racing with that has you most excited about tonight?
I mean, first and foremost, it's always going to be the people. But I actually really like Long Beach, too.
See, now that's interesting. And Long Beach appearing, I believe, back in the Forza Motorsport 5 when Forza Motorsport rolled out onto the Xbox One console. I think that's when Long Beach showed up. That's interesting, though, because a lot of people will say, hey, I really don't like that track. And it's mostly because of their experience in the hoppers. But when you're in a league like you have here in FM4, that helps clean things up a little bit.
Yeah, I also think some of the tire placement on this track is a little bit suspect, but it's never been horrible for racing except for getting plowed into the wall by somebody who just doesn't decides that brakes aren't something they want to use.
We're talking with Fear the Fun here in the Driver's Spotlight. T-Phrase telling us there in the pit lane, the chat that we have, no, Long Beach sucks. You are wrong, Fear. He's saying, no, you're wrong. It definitely is not a good place. I happen to actually tend to agree with you. I do like Long Beach. However, I like it when I have, clear pathway around the track, mostly when I'm doing like rival events and such. But it's a pretty fun track, and in these Formula Mazdas, they're kind of at home because Long Beach has been the home of Formula 5000, Formula 1, IndyCar, Formula E. So you feel like you're a real-world race car driver when you're getting around here in these Formula Mazdas.
Yeah, absolutely. They also do Ferrari Challenge here, Formula Drift, and GT3, IMSA.
That too, and they get stadium trucks out here too, which is crazy. I've seen video of like the stadium trucks going around, and it's insane.
Yes, sir.
All right, Fear the Fun. So tell us your ninth position overall on the leaderboard. You got Funtang up ahead of you by 30-some points. You going to be able to close that gap, maybe bounce up to 8th position, or are you pretty much going in defensive mode and trying to hold off Slow Motion Fire, Unironically Average, and T-Phrase?
My goal is to beat Funtang.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be ahead of him just for my sake of mind, peace of mind. I gotta be that tier better than him, just because of a friendly rivalry. But if I could stay in 10th, I'll be happy, or 9th, I'll be happy in 9th. But if I can get to 8th, I'll be stoked.
Very cool, very cool. And Fear the Fun, one last question here before we let you go. And we got a couple of minutes, so maybe we'll get a chance to talk with another driver. But looking ahead to season 27, of course, we don't know the champion yet, and the champion ultimately decides what the next car is. Assuming that you're going to be available for season 27, what are you hoping will be the pick of the litter as far as car goes?
Something slower. I like fast cars, don't get me wrong. I love the Endurance GT Hopper. But when it comes to this level of racing, I'm not like an esports level competitor, and nor are a lot of people in this.
Right.
But there are some, and with the faster cars, the disparity in skill shows in the distance between cars from first to last. With slower cars, we usually get closer racing, which allows for it allows for more mistakes to happen, but for less penalty for those mistakes to cost.
Right there with you, man. Hey, Fear the Fun, great chatting with you all throughout the season here. We wish you the best of luck in qualifying, and best of luck to you in the race. I know with all the lead cars going around, it's going to get chaotic out there with lead lap traffic and all that, but best of luck to you, and we'll see you at the finish line.
Thank you. We'll see you next season.
All right. There you go, folks. Fear the Fun, Mr. Big J Bishop. That's what I like to really call him. I know he's called Fear the Fun here on Xbox Live, but, man, if I could just go with Mr. Big J Bishop. That's what I want to go with. I know he just goes by Big J Bishop, but I'll throw the Mr. there at the beginning. T-Phrase saying celeb race. I'm not sure what you mean by that, except for the fact that maybe because we've got, some of these drivers who are quite skilled, some of these drivers could very well qualify for something like the Forza Racing Championship, mixed in with folks who are just getting out here like T-Phrase and like Fear the Fun, and like Modern Weapon and Ray Devil. These guys just coming out, racing their own race, no matter how bad or how good they do, just trying to up that skill, up the ante week after week, and really press each other to get better week after week. And here we are about a minute and a half before the start of qualifying out at Long Beach. I'm going to go ahead and flip everything over to the lobby so you all can take a look here, and we'll run through the roster for the final time here in season number 26 of the Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series. Fear the Fun. Oh, excuse me. T-Phrase says they race there. They have a celebrity race at Long Beach. Gotcha. Fear the Fun is in here. Funtang. Gotta go fast Eddie. And again, Funtang, actually the one that Fear the Fun is placing the target on. Fear the Fun wants to best Funtang out here on the track and maybe come away with the 8th place finish on the overall leaderboard. Gotta go fast Eddie. D-Fire, 999, Motive 87, Presto is Besto, Demos. Good to see Demos back out on the track because I think Demos was out of the race out of both races last week, if I remember correctly. SFM Darkser, who's their 6th overall on the leaderboard, trying to move up a notch or two, maybe even take away the championship if something were to happen dramatically for the rest of the pack. Slow Motion Fire, Unironically Average, T-Phrase, Modern Weapon, Audrex, Cratrium, Mr. Biggie, SVR, Salty Baco. So 17 drivers currently on the grid. We'll see if anybody else jumps in here in the last minute before qualifying, and then if they don't make it into qualifying, they can still get in on the race. They'll just have to start at the very back of the pack out here at Long Beach. And again, 1.97 miles, 11 corners at the beautiful Long Beach circuit. Yes, it is tricky. Yes, it is claustrophobic for those of you who like some runoff space, but I think for a finale here in Forza Motorsport 7 and in these Formula Mazdas, it is only right that we finish things out at Long Beach. Again, very much akin to the Formula 1, Formula 5000 cars of the olden days back in the 70s and 80s. And that's when Long Beach all came about, was back in 75 when they started doing the Formula 5000 race. And then there in 76 is when the Formula 1 cars started things up. Here we go. We're ready for qualifying. 3 laps. If you're new to the Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series, 3 laps of qualifying. All the drivers out there on the track at once. They'll have a delayed start for each of the drivers so that way they can create a little bit of separation, because even though they're all out of the track at the same time, they are ghosted. However, the ghost can play tricks with your minds. We've talked about it every single week this season, and of course we'll talk about it in forthcoming seasons, but you get that ghost out in front of you to obstruct your view just enough can make it difficult to really pin down that apex like you want to. And here we go, Slow Motion Fire, the organizer of the FM4 Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series. And oh, we've already got a loading screen. That's not good. Slow Motion Fire is still out there, however, as he gets around turn 5, now on the West Shoreline Drive, up underneath the roller coaster there, up to turn 6. And I think the organizers told drivers, hey, you can run wide through here, although you're going to have to keep it tidy because for qualifying, you need that quick, clean lap. So while you'll be minding the track limits there entering turn number 6 during the race, I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe the organizers have given drivers permission to go run up all the way onto the wall coming out of 6, heading toward that little kink at 7. Turn 8 is that right-hander before you hit East Seaside Way, which is where Slow Motion Fire is coming out of, now into turn 9, up to 10, and then next will be 11, the hairpin, toward the start-finish line. There goes Slow Motion Fire across the line with a 131.9. That's a standing start time, and without a doubt, that'll be bested by one of our drivers here, some of our quicker folks out on the track. And then this flying lap should be better for everybody. That's at least the goal, and if you can't get it here on lap number 2, then strive for it on lap number 3, because you do have 3 laps. Let's go to Mr. Biggie, currently with the top time at a 127.5, as he heads through turn 2 at the aquarium. Up to turn 4, out of turn 4, a little bit slidey there is Demos. Now back down West Shoreline Drive for Mr. Biggie. He's at the top of our leaderboard entering week number 5, the finale here. The FM4, all the details about this series in the upcoming season, season 27, as soon as those are available over at reddit.com/r/FM4. You get the sound, the buzz of the Formula Mazdas reverberating off the buildings, echoing off the buildings and through the underneath the underpass or the overpass. Well, driving on the under portion of it. So you get that sound echoing back at you. It sounds nice. And across the line will come Mr. Biggie. Let's see if he sets the overall top time as SFM Darkser has a 124. And there goes Mr. Biggie with a 124.1. Now let's go back to Darkser, who is second currently with second top time. Now the third best time, but has yet to come around the hairpin and back toward the start-finish line. Looking tidy really, really close onto that wall. You're just fractions, inches away from nicking that inside wall and spoiling your race. And there goes Darkster with a 123.7. A 124 for Mr. Biggie, but Mr. Darkster, I don't know why I'm saying Mr. I guess after saying Mr. Biggie comes Mr. Darkster, but SFM Darkster there. Not a whole second quicker, but a good 0.3 of a second quicker or so. Let's go to Audrex, who's currently got the third best time out there on his third lap. Third of 3. Locking up the brakes a little bit. Some tires smoke underneath the Firestone Bridge sign. Sporting that Shadow Edge Media emblem there on the wing. And around the hairpin. Full throttle down the straightaway underneath the Toyota Bridge, which Long Beach has now given the naming rights to Acura. So Acura here in 2019, as you'll see, is the official track sponsor. Not sure how long that partnership lasts, but handing it over from Toyota to Acura. There's Audrex there. Fourth fastest time. Let's go flip through here real quick. SFM Darkster with the 123.5, so able to drop it down a good 0.2 of a second quicker than his second lap. Back behind him is going to be Cratrum in second, Mr. Biggie third, Audrex fourth, Futang fifth. Salty Bonkos, unfortunately, with a 6th place overall finish in qualifying. And we'll go back to the lobby and we'll take a look at the previous race information. Unfortunately, again, this is not sorted by best lap, which is what is most important to us right here, right now. You see Mr. Biggie there in the second position with a 124. Audrex with a 124.6. It's not until you look a little bit further down that you get Darkster there with that 123.5. You see Modern Weapon with that triangle and the exclamation mark on the inside. That indicates that all laps by Modern Weapon, as well as Presto's Besto, those were all dirty. So those drivers will find themselves at the back of the pack behind all of the clean drivers, because the fastest dirty lap is still slower than the slowest clean lap. Fear the Fun looks like to be the one who gave us that loading screen early on with a DNF. Fear the Fun will join the pack at the back at the start of the race. Let's see if any drivers want to join us here before we get ready to get out on the track for some racing. Let's go to SFM Darkster. Again, was able to come across the line there on lap number 2 with a 123.7, and then on lap number 3 with a 123.5. You look like you were smoking around there at Long Beach, Darkster.
Yeah, that car was on the edge of death at all times, basically, as God intended.
We were talking with Fear the Fun a little bit earlier. Like, this is a proper way to end season 26 here in these Formula Mazdas out at Long Beach, where we've seen so much open wheel racing action over the last 4 or 5 decades. Obviously, you set a good time, the best time out here in qualifying. Are you expecting good things, or is this one where you're going to be fighting the car for the most part?
At this point, I'm just hoping for a clean race, hopefully have a good time chatting with everybody. I think this is going to be a really competitive race just because the track limits are going to be so much more relaxed. It's going to open a lot more places up for passes where you normally couldn't pass. So I think this is going to be a really, really good, entertaining race.
A really entertaining race, says SFM Darkster. You're still technically mathematically in the running if something were to drastically go wrong with those drivers at the top of the leaderboard, but at this point it sounds like you're just coming out here to be as competitive as you could possibly be, give these guys a run for their money here in these Formula Mazdas one last time, and perhaps get ready for season 27.
Yeah, that's the plan. Just try to have a good time tonight. Hopefully everybody can have a good race, and we'll see what the car is next time.
Yeah, and as we head into turn number 1, carrying a lot of speed as you come down East Shoreline Drive. And the hoppers, the multiplayer hoppers, obviously, that usually spells disaster. Here in this league, though, there's an expectation that drivers keep it clean. What is going to be your approach? You're on the pole position. I'm guessing you're going to go all the way there into turn number 1 as quickly as you can, get out of it as quickly as you can, or do you align yourself differently entering that first corner for the very beginning of this long race?
Well, I think there's really only two ways to do that. You can either hang it all the way to the right and try to get a good cut in, but somebody might chuck it up the inside, or you can try to hang the left, but you'll lose on the exit. So I'm honestly not sure what I'm going to do yet. It'll probably depend on how the guys in the second row get rolling, if they're close or not by the time I get there.
Talking with Dark Sir here, finding himself currently 6th place overall on the leaderboard. And the next corner after that, or series of corners, is kind of the roundabout, although you're only doing half of it there in 2 and 3 coming past Aquarium Way. It looked like drivers were staying off the curbing. Is that advised here, as you don't want to find yourself up on the curbing? It can be disastrous.
Oh, I'm one of those crazy people that likes using the curbing. I wouldn't advise it because the car is prone to twitching out if you do that, but I think it might be a teeny bit quicker to use it. But I'm probably not going to do it in traffic. It's just asking for a crash.
And here in Forza Motorsport 7, coming out of turn number 5, so after you've done the whole roundabout section, you've made that right-hander, you're getting ready to do the long straightaway underneath the roller coaster. There's a little bit of a, I don't want to call it an undulation, but there's a little bit of a bump there. Do these cars bottom out at any point in this track, particularly that part of the track?
I haven't really noticed it, but I imagine if you're running the car too soft, it probably would bottom out just for a moment there. But I don't think it's going to upset the car very much for anybody, that section.
And talking with SFM Darks, our last question for you, sir. Pit strategy. Is there a need for a pit strategy here tonight, or is it a go all the way to the finish?
I've been told that the fuel tank will last about 45 minutes, and I tend to be absolutely terrible with fuel, so there's a chance I might have to make an extra stop. But we'll see. Because if you try to save, you open yourself up to being reeled back in, so it's kind of a catch-22.
Could make things very, very exciting. And a lot of lap traffic out there, so obviously you'll have to deal with that, but not fear the fun. Dark Sir, I appreciate your time, and it's been good chatting with you throughout the season, and we wish the best for you here in the final week of Season 26.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate talking to you all the time, and hopefully you can have a good broadcast.
Thank you very much. I hope so, too. I sure hope so. If we don't make this finale good, then that just ruins the entire season. No, it'll be a good one. We've got all our drivers ready to go here. 19 of them, in fact, and maybe Ray Devil was one joined late. I'm trying to think who might have joined late here, but it's good to see 19 drivers out on the track. And again, if you would like to participate in the future of FM4, you want to be out here on the track with these guys, and it won't be in the Formula Mazdas. There will be an entirely different car with its own specific setup. Then all you have to do is keep up to date with what's going on. The announcements about Season 27 should be coming within the next week or two, I imagine. And all that information over there at reddit.com/r/FM4. All right, so here we go. I'm getting the word there from Slow Motion Fire in the pit lane that we are getting ready to go for this one. And again, it is 57 laps. 57 laps, the only race that we have for you here this evening. That's how the finale's done here in FM4 versus the other 4 weeks, which are 2 races per evening. But 57 laps, that'll give you plenty of racing action to spectate here this evening. Clear skies out at Long Beach, as would be expected all the way through this race. And 11 corners out there with plenty of straightaways, plenty of cornering. It's going to really put these Formula Mazdas to the test, or more so, the drivers behind the wheel. And here we go for the final time in season number 26 of the Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series. Kick the tires, light the fires. It's SFM Darkser on the pole position down East Shoreline Drive, heading into turn number 1. He said you can go out wide, enter it and cut across, but he's going to stay pretty much in the middle line. Lines it up nicely. Now here through the roundabout section, past the aquarium, and now here to turn 4, and then turn 5, what I talked about with a little bit of a bump in the road, and I'm not sure, depending on how you have your car set up, you could bottom out a little bit, and there goes Darkser rolling up onto the wall. Sparks flying out behind him. Speaking of behind him, Cratrim there in second position. Mr. Biggie is there in third. There's The Cell Runner saying, what's up, man? How's it going there, Cell Runner? Good to have you tuned in here for Tuesday Night Racing. Shadow Edge Media, I'm Dustin Moore, broadcasting to you live, and there goes Craytrim into the wall, and Mr. Biggie is into the wall. T-Phrase is going to get bundled up. Slow motion fire, able to navigate around, but that's bad news for Mr. Biggie, who's at the top of the leaderboard, entering week number 5, and has no room for error with Salty Bonkos back behind him, and Craytrim, who are going to be looking to take the championship here in Season 26. And now Craytrim is in a great position, or at least for now. It's very, very early in this race. 57 laps crossing the line for start of lap number 2. But if Craytrim can hold on to this pace, he's in a good spot. Back there behind SFM Darkster. Let's go to Salty Bonkos, who's in third. And Salty Bonkos exactly where he needs to be. Reel in Craytrim a little bit. That would be good. But they both are in front of Mr. Biggie, and I think Mr. Biggie might even be in the pit lane at this point. Let's go take a look back there. And unfortunately, he is. Mr. Biggie, this is not the way that you want to start a race, and he's got, looks like, well, he was on top of Fast Eddie. That has sorted itself out. I don't want to say nicely, but at least it did. T-Phrase back there into pit lane as well. So at least 3 cars ducking in for repairs, and we were talking about with Darkster there, if there was a need for a pit stop for fuel and tires, or as it relates to fuel and tires, obviously with a congested or claustrophobic track like this, and oh, it looks like somebody else back there is into the tire wall. But like with a track like this, you also have to consider any damage to the vehicle is going to necessitate a pit stop. Darkster out there in front, Craytrim falling a little bit further behind, but in a good place. He's got some clean air out in front of him, and nobody harassing him back behind him, at least not yet. Salty Bonkers is back there in third. Audrex is in fourth. Let's go to Audrex. And unironically, Average is up to 5th position. Back behind, unironically, is Modern Weapon, Fear the Fun. D-Fire in 8th. Slow Motion Fire in 9th. Presto is Besto 10th. 11th is Weiss Lancelot. Demos in 12th. Foontang in 13th. 14th is Motive, and we've got another car in the pit lane. That is Demos, it looks like, and it appears Foontang is in along with Motive and TFX Ray Devil. So early on, and it looks like Gotta Go Fast is going to have to sneak in as well, and Mr. Biggie back there in 17th position looks to snag a few positions if he can get back across the start-finish line while these other drivers are in the pit lane. Team Race is back there at 18th. 19th is Fast Eddie. So all the 19 drivers who started are still out there on the track. That's what we'd like to see. We don't like anybody dropping out no matter how bad the start is. And here we are riding on board with unironically Average. Let's get on the nose here of that Formula Mazda as he heads down East Seaside Way between turns 8 and 9 underneath the People Bridge. Now you hit the right-hander, and Salty Bonkos, throwing all kinds of smoke out the back there. Audrex able to make his way through. Going to have to part the cloud of smoke, and now into the hairpin, turn 11. Out onto the straightaway. Thank you all very much for being here. The conclusion of Season 26 of the Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series. It has been a fantastic season. Simply beautiful, and I can only imagine. Well, I can't imagine because there are 800 or so cars in Forza Motorsport 7, so I can't even fathom what the next vehicle is going to be. But we'll find out very, very soon in the coming weeks. And we'll get that season kicked off. We're clear off the leaderboard, take all the points away from all the drivers, start anew, and see who dominates that next car. Yes, we are riding around with unironically Average. Salty Bonkos again doesn't have the wheels of the Formula Mazda planted and now drops back to 4th position behind Audrex. Audrex, 5th overall on the leaderboard. Mathematically still in the running. Does need some things to happen with the drivers like Mr. Biggie and Salty Bonkos. He could use a disconnect from those drivers. We don't want to see it from our vantage point, but that's what it's going to take for Audrex to have a run at the Cup here. Looking ahead to first position, it's still Darkster. Back in second position is Craytrim. Audrex now up to third as we saw that move around Salty Bonkos, unironically in fifth. Fear the Fun in 6th, Modern Weapon in 7th, Slow Motion Fire in 8th, D-Fire in 9th, and Demos in 10th. Salty Bonkos again, a little puff of smoke as they enter turn 1. So maybe the braking is not quite set up the way that Salty Bonkos would prefer. Of course, all these drivers having the opportunity to tune these vehicles up to their liking. It's only the upgrades where they have to follow the criteria set before the season. Here in these S748 Performance Index Formula Mazdas, and S748 is pretty high on the performance spectrum here in the Forza Motorsport 7 title. They've got a race exhaust, race flywheel, race clutch, race driveline, race differential, and that's it. Cars coming in at 206 horsepower, 182 foot-pounds of torque, 1,226 pounds curb weight. We're watching Salty Bonkos, Audrex, who's there in 3rd, and unironically Average, bookending Salty on the backside there in 5th. Maybe not getting too anxious for passing at this point. Maybe just waiting to see if Salty Bonkos is going to make another mistake. You got to kind of bet on it at this point. With Salty Bonkos, at least from what we've seen, having 2 instances where he gets the back end thrown about a little bit. Any reoccurrences would be an opportunity for unironically. And look here, we've already got the issue with the lap traffic, the back markers starting to come into play here, and we have just started lap number, well, yeah, our leader is about at the halfway mark here at Long Beach, so the halfway point here of lap number 6. 57 laps. It does show 58 up in the upper left-hand corner. That'll be a victory lap for whoever wins, so hopefully here come lap number 57. We don't have so close a finish that we won't be able to determine who the winner is, because at that point the game will not stop, but we'll try to eye it as best we can. But of course, if you're Darkseer, you're thinking, hey, I don't want it to be a photo finish. I want to come away undeniably as the winner here. Audrex 4th with unironically Average, so Salty Bonkos moves up yet another position. SVR Salty Bonkos representing that SVR crew. We had Solar out here on the track last week in week number 4 out there at Monza, and even the race before that out at Brands Hatch, but no Solar here today, leaving the points up for grabs for the rest of these drivers. There's Fast Eddie, the back marker in 19th position, able to get the other 3 lead lap cars around him cleanly, and there they go across the line. Start of lap number 7. Let's go up to 2nd place. He's on a racing island, is Cratrim, going through the roundabout here at Long Beach, and it's a 1.97 mile circuit. Home of open wheel racing since 1975. Down West Shoreline Drive. It's East Shoreline Drive that you're on as you come toward the northwest. And then as you start heading kind of southeast is when you're on the West Shoreline Drive, and then they'll get on East Seaside Way right here up to turn number 9. Let's go look for a battle back there. Let's go where Fear the Fun is now. Well, actually, no, Fear the Fun has not caught up. That's a back marker there in 5th position with unironically Average, but we'll return with unironically Average. We saw Audrex, Salty Bonkos, and UA battling it out not too long ago. Unironically starting to fall off the pace a little bit here. Audrex as well, so Salty Bonkos perhaps now has his Formula Mazda figured out. Maybe just took a few laps to get settled in. Through the hairpin, back out onto the pseudo straightaway, or at least it is until you get up to the start-finish line and you have that little curvature there, which is not officially recognized as a turn. It's not until you get to this left-hander when you throw on the brakes that you've entered turn number 1. Mr. Biggie 09, thank you very much for the follow. I know that was it's like yesterday, but thank you for the follow. And so it's starting to thin out here. 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Let's go back to 7th position with Slow Motion Fire. This is quite a run by Slow Motion, who entered Week number 5 in 10th position, back behind Fear the Fun in points. And as we were talking with Fear the Fun before the race, he said, yeah, I really want to try to take down Funtang. And at this point, Fear the Fun is in front of Funtang, but he does have to look out for Slow Motion Fire, who is going to try to spoil that fun for him. D-Fire in 8th, Modern Weapon in 9th, 10th is Demos, 11th has got to go fast. Let's go to Mr. Biggie, who's there in 12th position, and this is the biggest of the storylines out here. We haven't been watching Mr. Biggie as he had to go in for a pit stop early on, but it was there in turn number 8 where Mr. Biggie found himself into the tire wall, and after that happens, you just start to get cars plowing into the backside of you. As you can see there, entering that turn, that's the very turn where he had his incident. There's nowhere to go for any of the other drivers, and they just start plowing into you, and the next thing you know, you're making a stop in the pit lane, and you find yourself almost an entire lap down from the leader, Darkster. You see her there on the opposite end of East Seaside Way. Biggie just now coming up onto the hairpin. So Biggie has a lot of work to do to come away with the championship, and back behind him, that's 12th position of Gotta Go Fast, who gets turned around, gets hooked up there on the entry into the hairpin, coming out of turn 10. And so now Mr. Biggie has a lot of room to run. There in 11th position, he's got Demos up there in 10th. Demos going through the roundabout section, so a good, 5-10 seconds behind. Let's go back to Audrex in 4th position, trying to track down Salty Bonkos. Salty Bonkos is in a good spot, entering 2nd on the leaderboard, and this is exactly where he needs to be for a shot at the championship. Now, of course, he was 6 points down from Mr. Biggie entering this race. So, depending on where Mr. Biggie ultimately finishes, and of course Salty Bonkos where he ultimately finishes, that'll determine the distance between those two in points here for this race. But what we do have to consider is also the drop week. The drop week is still in effect. So any driver who maybe this week does not end up being their best week compared to the other 4 previous to tonight, this could be a race that ultimately falls off and it doesn't matter to them, and that could either hurt or hinder, or excuse me, that could either help or hinder these drivers, depending on how their point situation looked like coming into this race. There goes Salty Bonkos through turn 3, now starting to lose Audrex a bit there in 4th spot. SFM Darkster, he's got lap traffic out in front of him. Let's give our race leader a little bit of camera time, heading down East Shoreline Drive before the start-finish line. And then that hook, there's got to go fast out in front of him, so Darkster will be able to take the inside line, get around cleanly. And look at this. Well, actually, I thought that was Craytrim who was sneaking up on Darkster, but it is not. Craytrim is a little bit further behind. Craytrim, though, also in a good position. Entered 3rd overall on the leaderboard. And actually, let's take a look at that leaderboard right quick there. You see Mr. Biggie, Salty Bonkos, Craytrim, Blister Gypsy, Audrex, Darkster, Disco Joint. Those are the drivers who are mathematically in the running. For some of them, needing a lot more than just a good finish here. They need the other drivers to unfortunately have some sort of malfunction. We're not wishing that upon anybody. There goes Darkster now through turn 8 and up onto the wall. Wow. Really pushing the limits. Darkster telling us before the race, getting this car close to death is what he was doing to get that 123.5 during qualifying. And you would think that he was doing hot lapping right here, that we were still in qualifying, because he is pushing that car to the max, despite the fact that he's a sizable lead at this point. Salty Bonkos back there on East Shoreline or East Seaside Way. He's got Audrex with him, unironically average. Again, though, that is even spacing itself out. Fear the Fun in 6th position. 7th is Slow Motion Fire. 8th, Modern Weapon. Mr. Biggie is now all the way up to 9th position. Let's go to Mr. Biggie. This is our biggest mover and shaker out on the track currently. Coming through turn 4. Trying not to give up a lap to Darkser, who's not far behind. If you take a look at the map there on the left-hand side, we've got number 9. That is Mr. Biggie highlighted right there, and you can see a little bit further back the white circle with a 1 in it. That is Darkser. So not a lot of separation there, not a comfortable situation by any stretch of the imagination for Mr. Biggie. That's where you can go down a lap. He does not want that. If he could stay on the lead lap for the entirety of this race, so that is one hell of a finish, because having to go into pit lane in a race where maybe pitting was not going to be a necessary thing, if you're able to manage a pit stop and still stay out on the lead lap, that's pretty miraculous. And there's Fast Eddie we see on the opposite end of the pit wall into pit lane. And so it's not just the tire and fuel situation which is going to necessitate these pit stops, and I suspect we'll continue to see it through the remainder of this 57 lap race. It's when you make contact with the wall, really easy here in these open wheel vehicles to mess up the suspension, mess up the handling, perhaps even goof up the engine, the transmission. T-Phrase out there ahead of Mr. Biggie in 18th spot. It does appear that Mr. Biggie has got a pretty good pace going and maybe even getting some separation. And it looks like we've got a car turned around. Mr. Biggie's going to pass that car, so we'll see who it is here shortly. It is, well, we didn't see who it was. Blew right by. And that car is still turned around over there coming out of turn 6. It's going to be Weiss Lancelot. And now Weiss Lancelot seeing a gap in the traffic, going to be able to get back underway. Let's take a look at the car. And no damage on that vehicle, so he's going to be able to stay out with no pit stop. Back behind Weiss is Fast Eddie, although on the opposite end of the track, so Weiss still in a pretty good position to hold on to that 18th spot currently. Darkser out front, Kratrum in second, Salty in third, comfortably, at least for now. Audrex in fourth, unironically average in fifth, Fear the Fun in sixth, Slow Motion Flyer in seventh, eighth is Modern Weapon, ninth is Mr. Biggie. Demos, they're in 10th position. I'm Dustin Moore. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Tuesday night racing here on Shadow Edge Media, and I hope you all are having a great start to your week. We're getting closer and closer we are in spring, technically. But we're getting closer and closer to that really hefty racing season. Obviously, IndyCar, Formula One, NASCAR, all of those leagues getting started. Oh, no, there goes Demos darting out in front of Weiss. Ooh, that was a scary situation. Let's go to Mr. Biggie, who continues to claw his way up through the pack as he gets around another driver. That's Modern Weapon in 9th position, and actually Modern Weapon is got a pretty good clip going there, although I think it's Mr. Biggie who just recently got around him, and Modern on the brakes pretty hard. But yeah, we'll have, as we start heading into the throes of spring, then you get the Le Mans and the Nürburgring 24-hour events and all kinds of great stuff happening here throughout the spring. This is the heart of racing season, and we're very happy to be broadcasting here in the virtual world, where weather is usually not a factor unless it's purposefully implemented. But rain or shine, these races go on week after week, and we look forward to bringing season number 27 to you live here on Shadow Edge Media. We're watching Mr. Biggie, who's up in 8th position. Our drivers 1st through 7th are pretty well locked in, at least for now. Obviously, things can and probably will change, but Mr. Biggie, with the unfortunate incident early on in this race, has the most to lose at this point. Really needs to come out of this race with a strong finish to be the season 26 champion, and he's going to run wide once again and into the tire wall. Man, no damage to the car, but it's those are the mistakes that will cost you the championship here in F4, and especially when you have such stiff competition through the field. And now Darkser is closing in, so Mr. Biggie about to go an entire lap down here in this final race, and that's not something we expected to say. there goes T-Fray spinning around the Jamaican bobsled team car coming out of the hairpin. A little bit, maybe a little bit eager to get on the accelerator coming out of there and just threw that 1,226-pound car around. Oh, and now Darkser spun around. Darkser spun around coming there through turn 1. Of course, if there's anybody out on the track who has a little bit to give, it is Darkser. I don't know if there's any damage. Let's take a look. There is. Look at that. Darkser is going to end up in pit lane. And if any driver needed a break, it is definitely Biggie. And now Biggie's going to look to take advantage of this. So Darkser is going to have to go in and get that car repaired. And unfortunately, we were making the change to Darkser's car just as it happened. So we weren't able to see exactly what went wrong there into turn number 1. But it will be an entry into pit lane. And let's go to Craytrim in second position, who is looking to take the top spot and be in a position, if he can hold on to it all the way through the race, win the championship. Oh no, and there's Weiss Lancelot turned around in front of Craytrim. It seems like at this point, very early on in the race, only lap number 16, no matter where we look, we've got a car that is turned around. And with such little space to maneuver, that's dangerous for everybody out on the track. Vamos, Saltibancos, vamos, says Tesaurus. Tesaurus here are one of our newer subscribers of the Shadow Edge Media channel. And if you are able to subscribe either with your Twitch Prime token, your free Twitch Prime subscription per month, that's greatly appreciated. But if you could do it through a monetary subscription, that is welcomed as well. Fastest ear is tonight worth double the points. Absolutely. Because there is only one race here in the finale, this race is worth double the points. So our driver who comes out with the top spot doesn't get the normal 50, but instead a whole 100. Now, of course, that balances out, and when you compare that to the other weeks, that puts everything on an even playing field. So when it comes to that drop week, they're comparing apples to apples, and so we'll see, because they can finish in one spot, but depending on how poorly this week or this finale matches up against the other 4 weeks, this race could mean absolutely nothing to some of the drivers. So we'll have unofficial results at the end of the race, and then we'll allow the officials, Slow Motion Fire, to go ahead and calculate everything and make it set in stone before we claim ultimately who Season 26 champion is. And that driver will dictate the car that will be used in Season 27. Here comes Craytrim across the line, and again, in first position after Darkser, there in turn number 1, found himself into the wall, damaging that Formula Mazda, and had to go into pit lane. And so Craytrim, now our race leader, and not far behind is Saltibancos. And this is a battle. This is a big-time battle. This is pro-level competition right here with Craytrim and Saltibancos. This is for all the marbles. The chance to be the champion here in Season 26. This is going to be close at the top then, says Fastest here. You bet. Even though it was looking a little bit, as the drivers were starting to thin themselves out across the track, it was looking like, oh, Darkster's going to roll away with the win, and then everybody else is going to follow suit where they are. But we've had so much happen out on the track in these last 17 and a half laps that we can't expect that what we're seeing right now is definitively how things are going to end. We haven't even crossed the halfway point here in this race. So plenty of opportunity for things to go right, plenty of opportunity for things to go wrong. You got to remain focused. So much about racing is consistency. Even though you're in the lead, you can't take your focus, you can't take your eye off of what you're out there to do. Hit your marks, hit the apexes. Unfortunately, with such a short track like this, and congested track, it's also navigating your way through the traffic And sometimes, with all those variables at play, sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. Salty Bonka's driver's looking rather dapper there inside. I think I saw a bow tie on that Drivatar. Mariachi outfit, was it? Fastest here is saying that mistake from Darkser may have just won Cratry of the championship over Salty Bonka's. Oh, I wouldn't put my money on that yet. Not at all. Salty Bonka's, who looked a little bit inconsistent. Oh, there goes Motive. Oh my. And unfortunately, these drivers have an eye for what's ahead, and of course, they're all in the same Discord channel to try to hear what's going on out on the track. And because of that, they're able to kind of plan for some of these situations when they enter these corners where they've got incidents. And actually, looking back there at turn 8, it looks like 2 cars did get tied up. And so no level of communications is able to prevent all incidents out here on the track. Let's see if we can't tune in a little bit here on the Racer comms and see how things are going out there.
It's worth like a second and a half.
I got damage. I got it going. I'm going to stay super wide.
I am kind of digging my excessive changes right before the race.
Listening there to the Racer comms for the FM4 Discord, and they're pretty quiet. There was a mention of one driver going into pit lane, announcing that, saying I'm going to stay wide because of the damage to the vehicle. So just the right amount of communication to help some of these other drivers out on the track, knowing that, hey, there might be a car that's a little bit off the pace. There might be somebody heading into pit lap, so in the pit lane, so you got to be careful about that coming out of the hairpin. Just the right amount of communication to keep things as clean as possible, but we will still, of course, see those incidents out there. Cratry still out there in front. Salty Bonka's there is challenging for it, 2 or 3 car lengths back as they come up to the start-finish line for the beginning of lap number 21. We won't look back there as we continue to see this battle play out, but Audrex is there in 3rd position. He's got lap traffic out in front of him, but nobody contesting behind him. The furthest, or the closest car to him in 4th is unironically Average, just now approaching the start-finish line. In 5th position, it is Fear the Fun. What a great run by Fear the Fun. 6th is Darkser. 7th is Slow Motion Fire, Mr. Biggie, who's there in 8th position and unfortunately has seen the tire wall there in turn 8 one too many times. He's going to try to catch up. Mr. Biggie probably thinking at this point, though, I wish I wouldn't have goofed that up the second time around, because with Darkser having to go into pit lane, that was a real opportunity for Mr. Biggie. Without a doubt, he did gain some ground, but... Oh, and there goes Salty Bonka's into the back of Cratry. Man, this battle is really intense, and we're only on lap 21. Let's see if these drivers keep that up. Riding on board here now with Salty Bonka's. There's a loading screen. Hopefully we still have all our drivers. Yo. 19 drivers started. All 19 out on the track, and that's what's encouraged here in FM4 is even if you're having a bad race, a bad day, stick with it. Get in the pit lane, no matter how many times it takes for you to repair that car. Stick with the race all the way through, in this case for 57 laps. Get your credits at the end of the race, and really just try to, again, no matter how bad it is, just try to up your skill level and get that familiarity with the track, because you don't know when you might be back out here at Long Beach for another race in the series. Even though it won't be in the same car, good opportunity to get a good chunk of laps in. And just like Fastest Ear and Thesaurus have done there in the pit lane, if you'd like to weigh in on what you've seen thus far in this race, give us your thoughts, maybe a prediction of who's going to win. Toss it there into the pit lane, the Twitch chat, as it's otherwise known throughout the Twitch community, and love to be able to chat with you. Give get a little back and forth dialogue going here. I know I'm the only commentator here this evening, but your input, your thoughts are just as important. And if it isn't about the race, maybe you've got thoughts on Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, the future of the series, the franchise. You haven't thought about real-world racing, cars, let us know. We are still here with Salty Bonkos in second position, back behind Craytrim. This battle was going, getting pretty bold there about a lap or two ago. It looks like Salty has maybe backed off a little bit. And they've got more back markers out in front of them. And there goes Salty Bonkos making the move around Craytrim. Craytrim got into the back of what looked like D-Fire. It was. And now Salty Bonkos is going to be our race leader. Craytrim getting no love there from the back marker, D-Fire 999. And as a result, it's now going to fall back a position. But don't think that's the last time that we've seen these two duking it out. As they fly by the camera there down East Seaside Way into turn 9. Audrex in third. Unironically average fourth. Fifth is Darkseer. Fear the Fun is sixth. Mr. Biggie is now up to seventh position. He was running in eighth. Now has moved up another spot. Unfortunately for Biggie, it's going to be a long ways before he's able to catch up with Fear the Fun. He'll try to make it happen. And back behind Mr. Biggie is Slow Motion Fire. Ninth is Footang. 10th is Presto is Besto. 11th is Modern Weapon. Got to go fast there in 12th. D-Fire in 13th. Demos in 14th. T-Praise in 15th. 16th is Weiss Lancelot. 17th is Motive. TFX Ray Devil and Fast Eddie in 18th and 19th respectively. I'm Dustin Moore here on the mic for you. Catch me on Twitter. More on the mic. M-O-O-R-E on the mic. More on the mic. On Twitter, that's my handle. All together, no underscores or anything. Follow me there. That way you can get the latest information about the FM4 series, about Mileage Masters events, and every once in a while I post a photo up. And every once in a while I share some Forza franchise news. So, a great opportunity for you and I to follow each other. You follow me, I'll follow you back. Ourselves all in the loop of what's going on here in the virtual world of racing on the Xbox One and the PC here in Forza Motorsport 7. That's the beautiful thing here of the Forza Motorsport franchise now, and even in the Horizon franchise, represented both on the Xbox and on the PC. So no matter which one you have, you can participate in series like FM4 or Mileage Masters. It's really your choosing. We see Craytrim having to deal with lap traffic once again. Got to go fast. Got to go fast respectfully. He's going to be on the high line. Give that inside line there to Craytrim. Craytrim now running in second position after having led this race for a good, I don't know, no, not even that many. Maybe 5 or 8 laps after Darkseer found himself into the tire wall heading to turn 8. Then had to go resort to pit lane repairs. That allowed Craytrim to get by. Salty Bonkos has really laid it on thick and is now the leader in this race, and now has a good, as we look up there, a good second or two ahead of Craytrim. Third position of Audrex now coming up to turn 8. Let's go check him out. Again, Audrex was 5th overall on the leaderboard entering tonight's race. Needs a lot of help to be able to have a chance to take away the championship. I would pretty much say it is out of his reach. But making a good run here in third position currently. Fourth is unironically average still. He's been in that position since the lap number 1. Darkseer has made his way up to 5th position after that pit stop. 6th is Fear the Fun. 7th is Mr. Biggie on the opposite end. Clearly not having a good race, and this could be a disappointing one of the, well, obviously for the 3 seasons that we've been broadcasting FM4 here on this channel, could be one of the more disappointing ways to wrap up a season with Mr. Biggie here. Gets through the hairpin, nice and clean. Tap the apex on the right side there with the tires onto the curving, and now down the straightaway and leave the Toyota Bridge, which again, sponsorship, the naming rights here of Long Beach has been handed over to Acura. So you'll see a lot less Toyota sponsorship on this track, assuming this track moves forward in the Forza franchise. Let's go back to 2nd position with Cratrim, who hasn't been battling it out with Salty Boncos yet. And I don't know, if I'm Cratrim, I might be thinking, hey, we've seen Salty Boncos get a little bit wobbly with his car earlier on in the race. If I can just hold out here in 2nd position, maybe Salty will make a mistake and put that, make that the advantage. And as we take a look here at the tire situation, so we were talking with Darksir about whether or not the fuel is going to hold up. 42% here just now at the halfway point here in this race. I think we're going to be looking at another pit stop, and this could actually be perfect for Darksir. Darksir inadvertently might have the best pit strategy out there on the track. 77% fuel, 23% on the tires. Now, I tell you what, heading toward the end of the race, he's going to be in a bad situation. So whether or not that car is even going to be controllable by the time we hit that 57 lap mark, that's another question that we won't have the answer to until we get there. But man, he may have inadvertently set himself up to come away as the winner in this race after all. Nice shot, Toby. Nice shot, Toby. Thank you very much for the follow. Darksir, oh, a little bit on the inside there. Or excuse me, it is Darksir. Perhaps running a little bit too far off of track limits there. And obviously the race organizers encourage all the drivers to race Forza clean. Maybe the only exception out here on the track is coming out of turn 6 and 7. Forza is a little bit conservative with its track limits. They're bringing the off-limits area all the way toward the middle of the track, whereas you've got a whole other lane to work with coming out of turn 6, and we'll see that here in a little bit as Darksir gets through the roundabout at turn 2 and 3, and then coming up to 4. Toyota left California for Texas. Sponsorship of the Grand Prix went with it. The Long Beach Grand Prix. And yes, the Grand Prix, the Formula One Grand Prix, moving there to Austin, Texas at the Circuit of the Americas, COTA. There we go. That's what we're talking about. You see that white line. You saw it very, very quickly there coming out of turn 6. That's the line of demarcation of Forza Clean here. And oh, there goes Darksir up onto the wall once again. And so here in the race, you're able to run a little bit higher on the line. Get a little bit more oomph out of the car, out of 6 and into 7. Darksir minding his P's and Q's there through turn 9 this go around, keeping it off the inside line there at T9. Up on the lap traffic with Presto's Besto. Let's go back to our, well, actually, let's take a look now. We've got a change here in the lead, or at least in the top positions. Cratrim is now the leader. Audrex is in 2nd, unironically average in 3rd. Darksir is in 4th. Fear the Fun in 5th. Salty Boncos in 6th. Mr. Biggie in 7th. Slow Motion Fire 8th. Funtang 9th. And so Salty Boncos is in 6th, and perhaps Salty Boncos went ahead and went into pit lane. He did. And so now the pit strategy is definitely coming into play here Cratrium, who's currently our race leader. Let's see what Cratrium ultimately decides at this point. Fastest here saying Salty Blanco's pit stop. Yes, we do have, it appears that pit stops are definitely going to be a thing. Darkster gave us the indication that that might not be necessary in this race, but perhaps that was him holding his cards close to his chest. And although he had to go in early because of damage to the car, again, that may work to his advantage. And here goes Cratrium into pit lane. So Cratrium now will get a fresh set of tires and a full tank of fuel to hopefully take him to the end of this race. If not, so long as there's no damage, as long as he doesn't get into an incident with the wall or with another car. Audrex is going to come into pit lane. Unironically, Average is going to come into pit lane. Let's go to Darkser, who is now going to be, once again, our race leader. Coming across the start-finish line for the beginning of lap number 30. And I didn't think it was going to happen, but here he goes. Out there in front, not more than, I don't know, 10, 12 laps after having lost the lead to Cratrium. And as we look to the biggest question mark now at this point is Mr. Biggie. And Mr. Biggie really has to be kicking himself. He's in 10th position now. And that has to be a result of either another pit stop or, well, I mean, he definitely went in. He's got a full tank of fuel and fresh tires. I don't know if that was strategic or if Mr. Biggie has really just pushed the threshold of that car so badly that he has gone in for a second stop, a necessary second stop, or if he's trying to make the most out of a strategy here. We'll have to see. Let's run through the pack here, or at least I'll name everybody off. Darkser now our race leader here for lap number 30. Fear the Fun in second position, not having yet gone into pit lane, I don't think. Let's take a look at his situation. The car has not. 33% fuel in the tank, and look at that, approaching 70% on the tires, and you can notice it. They're coming off the curbing in turn 8, sliding that Formula Mazda a little bit wide, and will probably be going this next lap. Salty Bongo's in third, already has gone into pit lane. Same is said for Cratrium in fourth, Audrex in fifth, unironically Average in sixth, seventh is Slow Motion Fire, Food Tank in eighth, ninth is Presto is Besto, 10th is Mr. Biggie, 11th, Gotta Go Fast, Modern Weapon in 12th, D-Fire in 13th, Demos is 14th, T-Phrase, Weiss Lancelot, Motive, and Fast Eddie are 15th through 18th, and back there in 19th position is TFX Ray Devil. Let's go to Cratrium, who's back behind Salty Boncos, 3 and 4, past the start-finish line podium, heading up into turn number 1, and we've seen Ray Devil just off the side there, a little bit past the pit lane exit, and just far enough out of the way not to be in a bad spot, and Ray Devil will probably sit there for the remainder of the race to at least not quit, not bow out early. Let's take a ride around the track with Cratrium once again. He's in fourth position. You need a little boost to get you to your Wednesday? Well, you've come to the right place. Shadow Edge Media here live on Twitch TV with the Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series Season number 26 finale. It is week 5, the final race out here at Long Beach. 57 laps. We are a little bit more than halfway through this race, and we've had several lead changes. I want to say at least 3 or 4 up to this point. Darkser is currently our leader for the second time here in this race. He's got back behind him in second position, Fear the Fun, who's going to have to go into pit lane here very, very soon. Salty Bonco's in third, Cratrium in fourth, Audrex in fifth, unironically Average in sixth, seventh is Food Tang, eighth is Slow Motion Fire, ninth is Presto is Besto, and unfortunately the story of the night is Mr. Biggie, who entered week number 5 at the top of the leaderboard, currently running 10th, and that will not win him the championship unless this ends up being his drop race. So we'll have to see how things sort out here, but not looking good for Mr. Biggie at this point. Great to have you tuned in. Shadow Edge Media, Dustin Moore broadcasting to you live, and it's been a great season 26 has with these Formula Mazdas, and I definitely, sincerely look forward to season 27, what lies ahead, and what comes ahead for the channel. Well, on April the 7th, we've got the Mileage Masters multi-class, throwback multi-class event. All the details over at racetracks.com/Mileage Masters, or you can find the information down below at twitch.tv/Shadow Edge Media. We'll have multi-class racing coming to you, and again, that's April 7th, a Sunday, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. There'll be 90 minutes of racing out at Sebring with early prototype cars and GT Racing Reborn, and we've already got a full grid of 21 drivers for that race. You'll have myself and 2 other drivers. I'm not going to tell you who they're going to be yet, but they'll be joining me in the commentary booth to bring that race to you live here on the cast. And then next Tuesday, we'll return to our irregularly scheduled programming here on the channel with Be a Better Forza-tographer. We'll head back to Forza Horizon 4 and do some Forza-tography streams. Tell you a little bit about the settings, the Forza-tography or the Forza photo mode settings in-game, how to make yourself a better Forza-tographer, and even give myself some tips. You guys can help me out to make the photos that I take in the game that much more appealing to look at. That comes to you live next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the channel. There goes Crate Dream around Modern Weapon. Lap traffic there in 12th position. And oh no, here comes the dreaded loading screen. And this is where we have to kind of look all the way through the pack and see what's going on. Darksir in first. Fear the Fun still in second. I can't believe Fear the Fun is still out on the track. Salty Bonko's in third. Crate Dream in fourth. Audrex in fifth. Unironically Average in sixth. Boontang seventh. Slow Motion Fire in 8th. Presto is in 9th. Mr. Biggie is still out there at 10th. Modern Weapon 11th. Gotta Go Fast. Demos, T-Phrase, Weiss, Motive, Fast Eddie, Ray Devil, and I think that's D-Fire, who we have lost out on the track. Yes, it is. D-Fire no longer out there for this final race. Darksir on the opposite end coming through the hairpin. Fear the Fawn just now entering turn 8 out on the East Seaside Way. Back behind him, Salty and Cratrium. Those two continue to close in on the wounded duck that is Fear the Fun, who has yet to gone into pit lane. And we take a look there, 24% with 78% tire wear up on the front where all that turning is happening, all that grip to get that car to move through the corners. 70 and 75 there on the back sides. And Fear the Fun into the wall, and man, I have to assume that that's the result of his tire situation, and at some point you got to say, hey, go into pit lane. And we had another loading screen there, so we're going to see if we still have all our drivers. We don't like losing drivers, that's for sure, and we have lost somebody. Oh, it always makes me nervous. Darksir, Fear the Fun, Salty, Cratrium, Audrex, unironically, Slow Motion, Presto, Mr. Biggie, Modern Weapon. We lost Boontang, and that's not the first time that we've lost Boontang in one of these races. A disconnect, I have to imagine, because Boontang was having a fantastic race. And maybe Boontang will join us here in the pit lane and give us an update on what happened to him. We don't like to see that. Boontang, I think, was running 7th. And now it'll be Slow Motion Fire in that spot. That's the virtual world of esports for you folks, is that while the cars may be impervious to the traditional or typical malfunctions that you'll see on race day in the real world, the only thing that we could say is, hey, you know, it's the equivalent of a engine blowout or something to that effect, and so that's kind of the way that you have to treat it. Unfortunately, you can't get back out onto the track. There's no way to load back into the race, and maybe the folks over at Turn 10 Studios maybe they're working on some sort of solution to that, because that would be ideal, is if the drivers were able to get back out on the track, their car would appear in pit lane, and they would return out there. Maybe not necessarily where they were. Well, ideally, it would be where they were, or at least where they should have been, noting all the cars that would have passed by them. So some way to figure out, based on where they left the track and the amount of time that they were out of the race, figure out where they go back on. I don't know. It would be a great feature, though. So Darkser, Fear the Fun, is still there in second position, and how he's able to muster that car around the track as well as he is doing, that number 67 Formula Mazda, I just don't know. A great showing here by Fear the Fun, who we talked to before the race, and at some point he's going to have to pull the trigger and make the move. It looks like it says just going to send it there on the side of the Formula Mazda. It's in a very appropriate statement there for that car, and he stays out yet for another lap. I don't know. If I was in Fear the Fun's shoes, I'm thinking, hey, I'm in second position right now, which is pretty damn good considering what season 26 has been for him all throughout. And I would pull in as quickly as possible to get fresh tires, because there he goes up into the wall, to get fresh tires and go through the rest of this race on at least a little bit more grip than what you've got right now. I mean, you're pushing it further and further into the race on these old tires when I don't necessarily think you have to. Sure, you're going to give up a couple of spots here as Salty Bonkos, Cratrium, and Audrex get around you, but better to get on those clean tires and make your way back up through the pack if you can. Darkser is still out there with a commanding lead over Fear the Fun right now. Let's go take a look at Darkser, and let's see what the situation is with this vehicle, because that's really the wild card right now. Darkser is at 54% fuel. We've already passed the halfway point, so I think he's okay there. The question is going to be the tires, which are already up to 47% there in the front, around 40% there in the back, and he's got lap traffic there. That's got to go fast there in 11th position. So I think Darkser is good on fuel, but the tires could be an entirely different situation, and I don't know. I have to say, and again, I'm not the racing expert out here, but if I were Darkser, I would be seriously considering going into pit lane at this point, because you've got at least a half circuit lead on Fear the Fun at this point. And again, Fear the Fun still has to go into pit lane, and Salty Bonkos and Cratrium on the opposite end of the track. I think Darkser can go into pit lane, get fresh tires, and reemerge out on the track in first place. Let's go back to fourth position with Cratrium here, and Cratrium and Salty Bonkos have been going at it all race, and rightfully so, because it's Salty Bonkos who entered Week 5 in second overall on the leaderboard, Cratrium in third, separated by, let me see if I can do some quick maths here, 6 points. 6 points. So where these two finish out on this race definitely matter. And again, just as a reminder, things will be unofficial at the conclusion of this race. The officials have to go back and wait. Oh, and there goes Demos! And Demos decided to come back onto the track at a very bad time, and Cratrium, unfortunately, is going to be the victim of that. Cratrium, unfortunately was the victim, but fortunately has no damage to that car, at least from what we can tell. Demos making a poor decision to try to get his car turned back around. Should have waited for the traffic to get by, because he's got open space back here. Oh, and Cratrium is probably just kicking. Oh, no, and we've got... Oh, hold on. We've got... it looks like the race organizers... Stand by here, folks. We've got the race organizers deciding, apparently, that we've got either a full course red. And let's see if we can't drop into the chat here.
It's the only nice thing about being down so many laps. You can stop your car wherever the hell you want. Your position ain't going to change. You're good.
Nope.
Alright. Got my jewel. Oh, there it is.
And perhaps here on lap number 39, at least for Darkser, looks like we're going to get maybe a restart after things got a little bit crazy out there.
What a rough race.
And there you go. There's an indication.
Grinder for sure.
And we're hearing that Food Tank is back. So what the organizers are deciding here is they're going to go ahead and they're going to jump out of the lobby. They're going to bring everybody back out onto the track with Foontang and get this one started again. That'll give an opportunity for TFX Ray Devil to race this one out for the remainder. He's 197,000 feet behind the race leader, as Race Devil is. You can see there over his car. But we'll allow the race organizers to go ahead and sort everything out here. Get things back underway for the remaining, I don't know, is it 20 laps or so in this one? But here you go. This is the most important thing at this point is we've got Mr. Biggie, who's at the top of the leaderboard entering week number 5, who is running, I think, at least in 10th position out on the track currently. As I run through here, actually, Mr. Biggie has made his way up to 8th spot after all the drivers have made some pit stops. And for those drivers who did not pit, so here's the great thing for Dark Sir. Having not had pitted was probably a good decision, because now he gets to start out in front with nobody else, or with fresh tires and a full tank of fuel. Didn't have to go into pit lane at all, with the exception of the early stop that he had to make after damaging his car early on. There in turn number 1. But these points, man, I tell you, where we are entering week number 5, and where things will be at the end of this race are getting super, super exciting. Salty Bonkos, Cratrium, that's really where the action is here on the leaderboard and out on the track. These two are going at each other's throat. It is cutthroat out there. We saw a little bit earlier Salty Bonkos making a move around Cratrium, and then Cratrium trying to reclaim that position. A little bit of bumping there on the back diffuser, front wings, throwing some sparks. Slow motion fire, they're telling us that there is a caution for dropped drivers, so again they'll get everything reconfigured and we'll be re-entering the lobby for a fresh race or a fresh start. Big J Bishop, no pit, hashtag no pit. Yeah, Fear the Fun was one of those drivers who decided not to pit. And so while they won't be able to hash out the spacing between the cars, what they will be able to do is place you where you were in terms of standings. And for Big J Bishop or Fear the Fun, that's second position, which is great. That just means that Fear the Fun didn't have to go into pit lane, didn't lose second, third, fourth, and fifth, and we'll be able to get back out there behind Darkser for the latter half of this race. SVR Solar joining us there with the Kappa. What's up there, Solar? Good to see you. Can I jump in? I forgot about this. I think it's a little bit too late to jump in, but definitely hang out with us for what's going to be an exciting conclusion, no doubt. No doubt about it. And Darksir there telling us a little bit earlier on that we're restarting because Foon is able to get back out on the track. Ether in Hunt telling us that Foon's stream went down, so Foontang, the internet disconnect, rearing its ugly head for him, kicking him not only off the track but out of his own broadcast. We'll bring you back to the lobby here after everything is sorted out. We'll let you stew on these standings for a little bit, but here, I could break up the monotony for you a little bit. Let's talk about that upcoming Mileage Masters event there on April 7th. Again, that's a Sunday, April 7th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It's a throwback multi-class event, 90 minutes of racing. It's our first multi-class event in the Mileage Masters series, heading out to Sebring. And as you can see there with the Mazda 787B, that'll be that represents the early prototypes. Of course, our drivers getting to select from a whole slew of cars. It doesn't necessarily have to be that very dominant Mazda, although I think we'll see a couple of those out there. Then on the opposite spectrum, and not too far behind in terms of performance, will be the Forza GT Reborn division, represented there by that XR4 Ti on the right-hand side. So again, April 7th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it. We already have a full grid, although you can sign up to be on the wait list. We had 3 drivers who were unable to race in our last race, and we did not have anybody on the wait list for that one, so we had vacant spots. But if you get on the wait list for this upcoming race here on April 7th, and we have somebody that doesn't show within 5 minutes of the race starting, if that vacant spot exists, we'll go through the wait list accordingly based on who registered first. We'd love to see you out there on the track. At the very least, we would love to see you here in the pit lane on Twitch, chatting it up for that race and letting us know what your thoughts are. 40% chance of thunderstorms, so that's going to make things interesting in that race. The cars will be on rain compounds, and that really, that's always kind of the joker, the wild card, if you will, especially for such a long endurance event. Then, as I mentioned, with us wrapping up season number 26 of the Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series, we'll be bringing back to you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The Be a Better Forza Photographer streams will be heading into Forza Horizon 4 to take some photos in-game of all the beautiful cars and scenery. And we'll talk about tips and tricks. And, of course, you can share your tips and tricks with me. Help me be a better Forza photographer. It's not just a one-way street. Works both ways. It'll be next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Going back to the lobby here, and we've got the drivers readying up, and I think the race officials are probably just going back through, making sure that everything is set accordingly. And we'll see how they kick this thing off out on the track, if they do a pace lap to kind of sort. I don't know. We'll have to see. I applaud the race organizers here in FM4 because they do a lot more daring things than I do in my series there with Mileage Masters. Unfortunately, you get to disconnect. We're going all the way to the finish. But because this is a series, there are points on the line, and they like to get drivers back in. There's kind of a gentleman's agreement across the league that where they can, they will bring drivers back into the fold. We saw this back there in Season 26 out at Watkins Glen. Craytream is dropping back in. Fear the Fun is, all of our drivers seem to be dropping out, so we're going to have to go ahead and switch over here because it looks like we're going to have to grab ourselves a new lobby. Remaking the lobby, says Darkster. I figured as much, so we'll hang tight here as we wait for the organizers to go ahead and sort everything out. I'm Shadow Edge Media, or at least the channel is. I'm Dustin Moore. Thank you all for hanging out with us, and I appreciate you doing so during this little slight intermission, but we're going to get more drivers back out on the track following some disconnects, and we'll get the racing action back underway here very, very soon. And we're back here for the finale of Season 26 of the Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series. We made it to lap number 39 before the officials decided that we were going to go ahead and go to a full course red, and that they're going to get everybody who started this race back into the lobby for a complete, not a complete race start, but at least a race restart. We'll get all the drivers back into their positions of where they were out on the track, to include Darkser out there in front. Fear the Fun was there in second. And we had Salty Bonkos and Cratrim there in third and fourth. So the organizers working very hard behind the scenes here to get everything corrected, to make sure that this race is concluded the way that it should be. And as soon as they do that, then we'll go back out on the track here at Long Beach, the 1.97 mile circuit, with 11 corners. I can't go into spectate mode yet, Slow Motion Fire, because you haven't loaded the track. I'll go into ready mode so that you can load the track, but I can't go into spectate mode yet. Once you load the track, I can. Okay, here we are loading up out at Long Beach. You see the Mazda MX-5, and there we go. I'm into spectate mode, and we are ready to get this race back underway. Darkser said hit spectate. Yeah, I did it now only because I had to wait until the track was loaded up. There's the load up portion, and then now that we're in the load up portion, I was able to select spectate. So we are good to go. We've got, looks like 17 drivers joining out on the track. So despite the fact that we are gaining Foontang, we have lost a couple of others out on the track. And there we go, 3 seconds to countdown. Heading back out to Long Beach. There's a look. Salty Bonkos is going to be out in front. And nope. And looks like they're going to, a false start there. I don't see Fear the Fun. There goes Fear the Fun getting connected. Yeah, we didn't have Fear the Fun on the grid, which would be a bad thing to do, because Fear the Fun, again, running in second position, and we talked to him before this race, has his eyes set on taking down Foontang on the leaderboard. And so not to have Fear the Fun back on the track would be that'd be bad. But he is now in the lobby. Just got to wait for him to ready up, and there they go. And now here goes the 4-second countdown once again. Kudos to the race organizers, Slow Motion Fire, to getting everything sorted out here in this restart here for the finale, to make sure things, that they're doing everybody right, that they're doing things as close to the book as they possibly can to have a respectable finish here in the Formula Mazdas in Season 26. We'll crown our champion, and as we mentioned, we'll have unofficial results here at the conclusion of the race. We'll allow the organizers to go ahead and run through the scorebook, make sure they set everything up accordingly. And here we go. We're kicking the tires and we're lighting the fires once again out here at Long Beach. Darkser in the top spot, in first. Back behind him, that's going to be Fear the Fun. Salty Bonkos, Cratrim, third and fourth. Let's go to Cratrim as they head into turn number one. And oh, we've got cars all askew. It looks like Mr. Biggie back there, and Mr. Biggie's misfortune just continues out here. Cratrim there on the back end of Salty Bonkos, and that's going to allow, unironically, Average to move up a spot. Presto's Besto there in sixth position. Slow Motion Fire in seventh. Modern Weapon in eighth. Ninth is T-Phrase. Weiss Lancelot in 10th. 11th is Mr. Biggie, who, yeah, we saw him going into turn number one wide. Just not going to be a good race, and unfortunately, I think he's going to fall off the throne when everything is said and done in the standings. And oh, there goes, unironically, Average. And actually, that was Fear the Fun, who found himself up into the wall. Unironically had to navigate around, and now Cratrim makes a double pass. Well done by Cratrim, moving up to third, or at least he's trying to. He's got the inside line there through turn 9, now coming up to 10. And then the hairpin, and he is around unironically Average. So Cratrim able to take back those spots from Fear and unironically. And now unironically running in fourth. That's where Audrex was. Audrex is back in 13th position. Let's go up to second with Salty Boncos. Salty Boncos coming out of Aquarium Way, up to 2 and 3 there with the roundabout. Now to turn number 4.
Try being in fourth place and then getting punched off the restart all at the back.
I think that was Audrex there expressing his displeasure that he was in fourth place, as we mentioned, but now has found himself all the way back in 13th. Yeah, that's the consequence that all the drivers face when you have the restart like this, is that you could have a driver who is running solid and well out in front of the pack, but once you crunch that pack back together for a restart, things could go badly. And apparently that's exactly what has happened to Audrex. Back there toward the back of the pack. GTR Martin JN, or Martine, 2702. Thank you for the follow. I'm just going to assume that the J is silent. GTR Martine, 2702. I appreciate the follow, and everybody who's watching here on a Tuesday night or on a Monday, or excuse me, on a Wednesday morning, an early morning for those of you across the pond. I appreciate y'all staying up late into the evening or into the early morning, hanging out with us here on Twitch TV. And these Formula Mazdas S748, 206 horsepower, 182 foot-pounds of torque, 1,226 pounds curb weight. Those are the specs for the vehicle. Nah, it's Dutch. Just say Martin. Gotcha. Okay. Martin it is. GTR Martin, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much again for that follow, and anybody else. If you're watching, you enjoy the entertainment that we have here on the channel, please click that follow button. Lets me know as the broadcaster that you are enjoying yourself and I'm doing something right. We'd love to see you back here for future races. One of those being, again, and we'll touch on it here at the end of the race, the end of tonight's broadcast, the Mileage Masters Throwback Multi-Class event happening on April 7th. Cratrim across the line for the start of lap number 5 of the remaining 57 that we have here. We had a race restart after some of our drivers were disconnected from the lobby, and we started with actually fewer drivers than were out on the track when we concluded things. And I think TFX Ray Devil, as I make my way through the cars, maybe being one of those that did not get back out here on the restart. He did not. D-Fire, fortunately, was able to. Motive back there in 16th. Fast Eddie in 15th. Demos in 14th. Got to go fast in 13th. Audrex has moved up at least one spot. Up to 12th. Weiss Lancelot in 11th. Modern Weapon in 10th. Slow Motion Fire in 9th. Futang in 8th. Mr. Biggie in 7th. Presto is Besto is 6th. Fear the Fun in 5th. Unironically Average in 5th. Let's go to in 4th. Let's go to unironically Average. Out in front of UA is Cratrium. And out in front of Cratrium, kind of on his own at this point, is Salty Boncos in 2nd. Darkser, who is leading the race for the majority, I'd say about 60 or 70% there before the restart, is back out in front for the beginning of the conclusion, the beginning of the end of this one. We've got a driver who's into pit lane. It's going to be T-Phrase. They're in 18th spot. As they go through the bendy parts here at Long Beach. A little bit more cloudy than what we left it last time. It was far more sunny when we were out here in Long Beach, but now the clouds have started to roll in. Maybe it's that marine layer here off the coast. Cratrium, unironically Average, Fear the Fun, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. This is the closest amount of competition, at least here in the top parts. If we look a little bit further back, Presto is Besto is trying to hold off Mr. Biggie, who is making his way up through the pack. Mr. Biggie is now in 7th, but yes, the most disappointing showing out here today And Mr. Biggie's probably going to be kicking himself after this race. We saw Mr. Biggie into the tire wall in turn 8 at least on 2 occasions, which put him into pit lane, I think at least once, and then had to go in a second time as his tire situation was in dire need of a fix. Looking there in the pit lane, Thesaurus says, race kind of ruined now that Darkster has fresh tires. Yeah, and Darkster, we talked about it. Fear the Fun and Darkster really benefited from the race restart. They didn't have to go into pit lane, although Darkster had already been into pit lane at least once early on in the race, but because before the restart he didn't go into pit lane, he actually had an advantage. If the race had concluded or gone all the way up to the 57 lapper on that initial onset, there might have been a chance for Darkster to run out of tire grip. He was already approaching 50 or 60%, I think, there as we were heading toward lap number 40, and that was really going to be something to watch, and it's something exciting up to the conclusion. But now that the restart has happened, all the drivers on a fresh set of tires, full tank of fuel, and they'll be able to go the distance here in the remaining 18 laps. And Darkster saying he's into pit lane. And we completely missed it there watching Unironically Averaging, folks. And now Salty Bonkos is out in front with Cratrium. So it could very well be Salty and Cratrium battling it out for the championship once again. Where there was excitement for the conclusion of this one, it has come back to us. These two were battling it out all the way through the first 39 laps. And here they go once again. Darkster, they're telling us in the pit lane that he has gone into pit lane. Not just in our Twitch chat, but then also in the virtual pit lane out here on the circuit. And so that'll put Darkster now back in, 16th spot. Now Cratrium is going to have to reel in Salty Bonkos. Salty Bonkos entering week number 5 in second position overall at 268 points to Cratrium's 262. Blister Gypsy, who is at 250, is not even out here racing with us here this evening, unfortunately. Audrex was the next closest at 241, entering 5th position overall on the leaderboard. Audrex now at this point, he's back there in 8th spot, so not a great run for Audrex. And we heard him a little bit earlier on the Discord voice, the Racer Comms channel, that he was quite disappointed. He had a solid run in 4th, but now has since fallen back. He was as far back as 13th as we saw about 3 or 4 laps ago, now back up to 8th. Slow Motion Fire in 9th, 10th is Weiss Lancelot, Modern Weapon 11th, Gotta Go Fast in 12th, Demos 13th, Fast Eddie 14th, Darkster there in 15th. What a change of events there, and here comes Cratrium through the hairpin, catching up with Salty Bonkos, and there's Unironically Average back behind them, and there's T-Phrase out ahead. So things are going to get very, very interesting here. Entering lap number 18, halfway through the second half of this race, what would have been a full 57-lap event has now been split in half. They went into a full course red at lap number 39 and have since restarted the lobby. Lap 19 up in your upper left-hand corner, that'll actually just be a celebratory lap. So this should conclude at lap 18. Should. Most of the organizers have decided against that. TXR Vortex with the follow. Thank you, sir or ma'am. Love seeing all these clan tags come in here. We had GTR, we had TXR. All throughout our broadcast, we get folks from all different teams showing up, representing not only with the follow, but then they get out here and race either in the FM4 or in the Mileage Masters Series. We'll have more of those teams represented there in that throwback multi-class event on April 7th. And I tell you what, I'm getting it more and more excited. The more I hear and see these teams acquiring new teammates, kind of going through their own training regimen, getting ready for what should be an announcement of the Forza Racing Championship pretty darn soon, it gets me excited. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, we're in the thick of racing, or we're heading into the thick of racing season here in spring. Obviously, with NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar all underway, we'll start to see, the big-time endurance events. Of course, we just had the Sebring, 12 hours of Sebring not too long ago. But we'll have the Le Mans and the Nürburgrings coming up here in May and June. And that'll be exciting. Here comes Cratrim around turn number 5 up to West Shoreline Drive. And again, underneath that roller coaster up ahead there, you see the sun peeking through the fence line as they head down the straightaway. That is West Shoreline Drive to turn 6. Coming, that little kink there is 7. Here's turn 8, which has been big to a lot of racers, namely Mr. Biggie. Look at that, Cratrim just hanging out there. And Salty Boncos made a mistake there toward the end of that those initial 39 laps, which Cratrim was able to take advantage of. But Salty Boncos has since reclaimed the top spot over Cratrim. But if Salty makes that a mistake again, better believe that Cratrim's going to be right there to nab it from it. And there's a loading screen. So unfortunately, we're losing somebody again. It's not Funtang, however. And as I look through, I'm not catching immediately who that is, but fortunately our key players, at least on the overall leaderboard heading into this race, still out on the track. Coming through the roundabout section with the Bubblegum Shrimp Factory there, right next to the aquarium or the conference center. We've got all kinds of stuff here at Long Beach, and dating back again to 1975 when Formula 5000 did the races out here at Long Beach for the inaugural event on this city course before Formula One said, hey, that looks like a great idea. Let's send our Formula One cars out there for the Grand Prix. But as was mentioned earlier, thanks to somebody there in our pit lane, our Twitch chat, that has since moved out to Circuit of the Americas in my neighboring city of Austin, Texas. And again, I was mentioning a beautiful night here in South Central Texas, and wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a fantastic start to the week. If not, well, fortunately, we're at the midway point here with Wednesday coming up tomorrow, if not already for some of you. That much closer to another weekend, and yes, I know, working for the weekend, it always makes us seem like we have nothing more to look forward to than that Saturday and Sunday. But it's exciting to get to the weekend and all the racing that happens over the weekends. But definitely enjoy your weeks. Enjoy that time you get with coworkers and anybody else that you interact with that maybe you don't see out throughout the week. Those are important relationships as well. We're continuing to hang out here with Cratrim, who's been battling it with Salty Boncos all throughout this race, even in the initial 39 laps that we had before the restart. And if I were to guess, I have to believe that Cratrim's going to make a run for it here in the remaining 7 laps that we have. And again, I think this is going to conclude on lap 18 versus lap 19. That final lap, I believe, is only going to be celebratory. Of course, after the restart, that could have changed. We'll see. T-Phrase. It's T-Phrase got wrecked twice in the first race and 3 times in this one. He's done. Emphasis on got wrecked, says T-Phrase. So T-Phrase not happy, telling us they're in the pit lane. And fortunately here for T-Phrase and all the other drivers, it is the conclusion of Season 26. So Season 27 will be getting underway at some point. The official announcement has not yet been made, but all the information, everything you need to know about the FM4 is over there at reddit.com/r/FM4. You can get that detail down below at twitch.tv/ShadowEdgeMedia. Just look for that FM4 logo right there beside the Mileage Masters logo. And that's what we have coming up next on April 7th. But then Season 27, I do believe, I haven't confirmed it with Slow Motion Fire, but I do believe we'll be bringing that to you here live on Shadow Edge Media. Salty Boncos looking a lot more focused, a lot more composed with the Formula Mazda versus where he was early on in the race. where he was stepping out the back end of the Forza Mazda, or the Formula Mazda, several times. But now with about 51 or 52 laps under the belt, it's pretty safe to say that these drivers are quite familiar with the car and track at this point. Here comes Cratrim and Salty Bonkos out of the hairpin. There's unironically average again, not far behind. So if Cratrim attempts to make a pass on Salty Bonkos and something goes terribly wrong, well, then that'll be an opportunity for unironically average to make a move. Although UA is not in the running for the championship, currently 11th overall on the leaderboard there between Slow Motion Fire and T-Phrase. Obviously, all these drivers being very competitive, whether you're in the running for the championship or not, having a strong showing in any one race is a great way to have the end to a Tuesday night. And for unironically average, here's the thing that boggles my mind. For drivers like Foontang, unironically average, and and Salty Bonkos, these guys, they're in Europe. I mean, this is late. This is late in the evening, very early morning hours. How they do this, I have no idea. Kudos to them. There goes Salty stepping out a little bit there. That's what we've seen, and that a little bit of squirreliness is just enough for Cratrim now to close in on the backside. A good car or car and a half behind, and we see back there in the background is unironically average, who's about a second behind or so. But we'll see if these two start throwing punches, and I mean that figuratively. Obviously, they're not going to be trying to wreck one another, but they start seeing those open wheels making contact. That could be all unironically average needs to sneak away with the win, eke out a win here. Lap number 14. Let's go ahead. Oh, and there goes Cratrim to the backside of Salty Bonkos, and Cratrim's going to allow Salty Bonkos to get back under speed, but what that does is, as I just mentioned, unironically average now moves up, and we've got a three-way battle for first with Cratrim or Salty Bonkos currently in that spot. I don't think there should be any damage to the vehicle of Cratrim, but we'll take a look here for good measure. He's okay. But that's not a move you want to be trying again out of fear of damaging the front end of your vehicle. And when you're in the running for a championship, the last thing you want to do is have to go into pit lane here in the final few laps of the season. DWM Frog saying good recovery, Salty. Yeah, Salty on point there with the recovery. I do believe Cratrim in sportsman-like fashion, allowing Salty to recover and not trying to make a pass there on that incident, but still probably enough to fluster Salty a little bit, and that gap now starting to grow once again. Unironically average just not able to take advantage there. Let's see what happens this time through 1, 2, and 3. Back behind unironically average, Mr. Biggie has made his move up to the front. Wow. If Mr. Biggie can make a pass here in the remaining 4 laps, whoo! Fotang in 5th, Audrex in 6th, Presto is Besto is 7th, Fear the Fun in 8th, Slow Motion Fire in 9th, Weiss Lancelot in 10th, Darkser in 11th, 12th is Modern Weapon, 13th is Gotta Go Fast, Demos in 14th, 15th is Motive, 16th is Fast Eddie, D-Fire in 17th position. We're going to go ahead and drop the map here and give us the full view of this one. We'll hang out here with first, second, and third through the remainder of the race. They've got lap traffic out in front of them. Lap traffic not giving way, at least not for now. Demos is going to take the high line here and actually ducks back into the inside a little bit, blocking Cratrim just enough there through turn 9, now through 10. Demos is going to hug the inside line, but that'll give Cratrim the way here through the hairpin. And there goes unironically average. What a slick move by UA there, getting around lap traffic, able to keep up with Cratrim. Wow, able to bring that back around to the inside. That was a brilliant maneuver. Probably one of the more underestimated of course, I'm the one who's doing the estimating, but maybe one of the moves that, although it didn't gain unironically average any position, it's keeping him in contention for third place. Mr. Biggie back there in fourth. We'll hang out here, and we'll see if Mr. Biggie is able to catch back up here as they are nearing the halfway point of lap 16. They'll begin lap 17, and then I think lap 18th will be the finale. So we'll see them run through 18, and as soon as that lap triggers over to 19 of 19, I think that's when we'll see the drivers peel off onto the side, brake, and allow the celebratory lap by whoever wins this race. But there you go. Salty Bonkos. And again, this is huge. Salty Bonkos was second over on the leaderboard behind Mr. Biggie. Craytrim, who was third overall on the leaderboard, is second out on the racetrack. So, potentially, where these drivers finish could dictate who wins the championship. Again, I have to allow the officials to go back to the rule book and drop the lowest or the worst race or the worst week of these two drivers before we have official standings. But we'll make an assumption, preliminary guess on how this one finishes. Here we go, lap number 17. Through the roundabout. Turn 4. T5 to West Shoreline Drive for the penultimate time, or at least what I think is going to be the penultimate time. Again, we'll see here. Past the aquarium, up to turn 6. Actually, the aquarium a little bit further away. My apologies there. Don't have the architecture in the right spot in my mind. Because Craytrim peeking over a little bit and then getting right back behind Salty Bonkos. You want to hold on to that slipstream. And here we go. I do believe the officials are giving the white flag to Salty Bonkos. Craytrim unironically average 1, 2, and 3. Coming through the bend, up to turn number 1. Concluding season number 26 in the Forza Formula Mazdas here in Forza Motorsport 7. Through 2 and 3, Craytrim trying to get as much of a cut there on the inside up onto that curbing as he possibly can. Salty Bonkos actually up onto the wall coming out of turn 4. Now here they come off of 5. Looking as clean as ever, all three of these cars are. If they run this way, I don't see how anybody's going to be able to make a pass, but Craytrim is hoping that the intimidation factor wears on Salty Bonkos, but SVR Salty Bonkos, he's about as close to a pro as you can get here in esports, in the virtual racing world. And here we go, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 with the final 3 turns coming up, 9, 10, and 11. Into 9. Minding the track limits. That's what we like to see. Through 10. And Craytrim doesn't look to be in a position. He's going to run wide. And no such luck. It's going to be Salty Bonkos. Craytrim unironically average. Checker flags fly. And if it stands, Salty Bonkos will be our race winner, or our championship, our champion driver here in season 26. Again, if it holds. Let's go to 4th with, actually, let's go to Funtang there in 5th position, back behind Mr. Biggie. Mr. Biggie's going to come across the track in 4th. Funtang in 5th. 6th is Audrex. 7th is Presto. Let's go to Fear the Fun there in 9th position. Back behind Dark Sir. And it's going to be Dark Sir 8th, Fear the Fun 9th, 10th looks to go to Slow Motion Fire coming out of the hairpin, 11th Twice Lancelot, 12th Modern Weapon, 13th Gotta Go Fast, 14th Motive, 15th Fast Eddie. Let's go to Fast Eddie, who's somewhat close there to Motive, although I think Motive's got 14th in the bag there. He's good. E-Fire in 16th. 17th is going to go to Demos, who's just parked it over there in turn 8. Not going to get back around to the start finish line. Or at least maybe, well, he's back. He's rolling down East Seaside once again. So we'll get everybody lined up here. And it'll go to Salty Bonkos to win the race. And yes, if everything holds true in the scorebook, Salty Bonkos will be the champion here in season number 26. The Formula Mazdas, he'll have the pick for season 27. And ideally, what they're encouraged to do is to pick a vehicle that they have not yet raced, that they're not familiar with. Pick that vehicle as the next vehicle of choice, and have everybody try to learn it, and come back out here for another 5 weeks of racing, 9 races. And there you go, Salty Bonkos, first position. Second, Cratrium, unironically average. Mr. Biggie in fourth. What a recovery by Mr. Biggie, who had a devastating start to this event. Big J Bishop saying it's a tie. And again, so that's where the drop weeks really come into play. So we're going to see what happens here. Salty Bonkos is going to get 100 points, which is going to take him, at least based on how things were entering week 5, to 368. Cratrium would get would still, with 6 points down entering week 5, he'll get 47 times 2. What is that, 94? 94 points. And there goes Salty Bonkos taking a celebratory lap. So again, until they do the calculations in the official scorebook, we're going to recognize Salty Bonkos at this point. At the very least, he's the winner of this race. So we'll see. And maybe the race officials will even be able to get a tally for us here before we wrap up the stream. Of course, we'll talk to some of our drivers at the conclusion of this one. We've already got Motive in there, so let's go ahead and we'll bring Motive into the discussion, into the driver's spotlight. And Motive, can you hear me, sir?
I got you.
All right. Well, there you go. That's the wrap on season 26. A very interesting finish. You were 20th overall entering this race here, this finale for season 26. Was it as crazy for you as it seemed to be out in front?
Definitely not. I mean, when you run a few seconds off the pace, or maybe more than a few seconds, like I was, your biggest thing is you don't want to screw up first and second when they come around. So
yeah.
Definitely wasn't too crazy back. There's a lot of fun with us guys in the back, but the biggest thing I'd say was just watching out for the guys coming around in front.
We're talking Motive, who's joining us here in the driver's spotlight. What does a race restart do to your psyche? You're in the groove. You're there on lap number 39, so you're cruising toward the finish. You're more than halfway done, and then the officials say, hey, we're going to go ahead and pull everybody back out and start over. Well, not start over, but do a restart.
Well, I mean, it depends, because it can either be a good thing or a bad thing. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're in front and you got a lot of room, it's definitely a bad thing. If you're running in the back, 15th, 16th, you're a lap or two down, it's the perfect opportunity to make up some time and maybe a position or two. So for me personally, it was a good thing. Actually, the same thing happened in the endurance race, Watkins Glen, last year. And I think I was running last place. And then after the restart and at the end of the race, I ended up finished 16th. So it can definitely help you if you can capitalize on it.
And you said it benefited you, but in terms of your pit strategy, I'm guessing you had already gone in. A lot of drivers had already gone in. But then to come back out for 18 laps on fresh tires and fuel, that's probably a pretty good relief, and it might have been one of the reasons why it benefited you?
Definitely. I had to go some damage, so I was looking at either finishing the race on wasted tires or coming in again, barring that there wasn't any more contact. So to have that 18 laps just to run straight through helped.
And Motive, whether it be Salty Bonkos, who we're here on the broadcast, we're kind of naming the champion at this point. Of course, things can change there on the scorebook, but whether it be Salty Bonkos or Kratroom, who comes away as the season 26 champion, what are you hoping for season 27, assuming you're going to be available to join these folks back out on the track?
Well, I'm definitely going to be back. I'm kind of hoping that we get back into maybe a closed cockpit car, maybe something a little closer racing like the Astons. But it's going to be interesting to see what those guys pick because they're super fast and they're really good drivers. So it's probably going to be a challenging platform.
Well, Motive, hey, I appreciate you joining me. I think this might be the first time that we chatted with you, at least here in season 26. Am I wrong?
No, it definitely is. And hey, I just wanted to tell you thank you for everything you do because it's so cool to be able to watch this and, to have these things streamed. It's really cool. And you do an awesome job.
Well, I appreciate those kind words. I obviously wouldn't be able to do it without you all out on the track. But it's my pleasure. And when Slow Motion Fire came to me saying, hey, man, I like what you do with Mileage Masters. Do you want to commentate the FM4 series? I said, hey, you're telling me a series that somebody else has already constructed that all I have to do is show up and commentate? Heck yeah, I'm all for it. But I'm glad that you enjoy it. And what would you say? So for our viewers here who have been watching maybe the conclusion of season 26, they're interested in participating with FM4. What would your words be to them?
If you're interested at all in participating, you should definitely sign up. I mean, it's a great place, even if you're not competitive with time, for you to become a better driver, learn how to race cleaner. So if you have any interest, definitely sign up.
Very good. And all that information as season 27 gets announced will be available over there at reddit.com/r/FM4. You can find the link down below, twitch.tv/Shadow Edge Media. Motive, great chatting with you. Maybe we'll chat more in season 27. Hopefully you'll get your way with the car choice there, closed cockpit and a little bit more closer racing like the V8 Aston Martins that you mentioned. But good job here in season 26, and we look forward to seeing you back out on the track again.
Thanks a lot. I'll see you next season.
All right, so there we go with Motive. I don't see anybody else in the driver's spotlight. Maybe we'll get some folks in here very, very soon. I am seeing drivers giving congrats to Salty Bonkos. I do believe that Salty Bonkos is going to come away with the championship, even though Big J Bishop telling us there in the pit lane that it is a tie. I do believe that the points favor Salty Bonkos at this point. Again, we'll make this unofficial. We'll have this as an unofficial announcement until Slow Motion Fire is able to tally up all the points, drop the lowest week for all of the drivers to really confirm things and get those official results posted. And again, usually what happens here is as we do the rebroadcast following this event, Slow Motion Fire jumps into the pit lane to let everybody know that the points have been tallied and confirmed. So we'll see if that happens. And looking for any other drivers in the queue for interview section there on Discord. Would love to get a word with at least one or two more, if not more. CT Kratrium, who's going to finish probably second there overall on the leaderboard, jestfully saying the twin mill forced cockpit cam. Yeah, anybody who's driven the Hot Wheels twin mill knows that the cockpit cam is not the viewpoint of preference there for that car. You don't want to be behind in the cockpit view of that car. Let's go to the driver's spotlight as I'm trying to ramble through about how bad the twin mill would be. Let's go to Foontang, you had a bad luck there with the disconnect. You're able to get back in the lobby. Maybe not the way that you want to punctuate season 26, but hey, it's all said and done at this point.
Yeah, interesting race. Had a weird start. Ended up near the back of the grid. Disconnect kind of saved me. I started at the back of the grid, but everyone was kind of like a bit race fatigued, and I don't know, I just kind of powered through a little bit.
Powering through the disconnects, which kind of favored him, allowed you and then some of the other drivers, including Motive, who was mentioning, hey, that worked to his advantage to get fresh tires, a full tank of fuel for those who hadn't pitted or maybe pitted early on in the race and were working on some pretty worn tires. A pretty good season for you. You're going to finish, I think, somewhere there in the top 12. maybe not the season that you had hoped for. Was it the car, or was it just bad luck in terms of driving throughout the season?
Little from column A, little from column B. Wasn't super comfortable in the car. At times, some tracks I felt really, really at home, like Brands Hatch, Catalunya. Unfortunately, I didn't get to race there. But yeah, there was a couple of other tracks, and I felt really at home. And then on the other tracks, like Long Beach was one of them, the car just felt really, really weird. But luckily, I got some tuning tips from a certain person pre-race, and yeah, they really helped.
Talking with Fuentang here in the driver's spotlight, Slow Motion Fire in the pit lane, telling us that he almost has the points finished. So before we wrap things up here on the broadcast, he should be able to give us the nod on Salty Blanco's championship win. Fuentang, okay, so you're saying a little bit from column A and column B as it relates to the car, and then of course your Willman ship out there and being able to wrestle the Formula Monster around the track. What are you hoping for in season 27? In terms of maybe the performance index and maybe the car setup?
Something B class, maybe C class. If it's front wheel drive, I will be a very happy chappy. But if it's rear wheel drive, but yeah, just something that's nice and fun, and kind of FM4 Roots style.
FM4 Roots. How long have you? This is the 26th season. How long have you been racing in this series, this league?
So this was my 8th, I do believe. So it's been a long time. I missed one season at the start of FM7 releases. And I saw the season and thought, wow, this looks incredible. This is exactly what I want. Joined, and I've been here ever since.
We're talking again with Fuentang here, 8th entering week number 5, and as the points get tallied up, we'll see where Fuentang ultimately falls on the leaderboard there. I mentioned it during the race. You're one of the drivers across the pond, Slow Motion Fire being the organizer located here in the U.S. How do you guys, at such late hours or wee hours in the morning, how do you guys muster the energy to do these races, and especially this finale, which is a long 57 lapper?
I'm a night owl anyway, so it's not really a thing for me.
Very good, very good. Fuentang, any shout-outs here before we wrap up season 26? Anything you want to say? Anybody you want to have a word with?
Of course, big love to Slow for running this. Big love to you, Dustin, for your amazing commentary. Of course, big shout out to Salty for winning. Everyone in my chat. got big love to everyone in my chat. G, Slaps, Diner Dad Shadow, Hunt, everyone in my chat. Big love. All the other races. It's just been fantastic racing this year. So got to give love to everyone else. The new guys like Dark, Solar coming in. That was fun. And just big love to everybody. It's been fantastic, and long may it continue.
Well, back at you indeed, and we do hope to see you in season 27, because with the likes of Dark Sir and Cratrium and Salty and Blister Gypsy, plenty of competition, stiff competition, and we like to see who's going to do what in whatever the next vehicle is going to be.
Yeah. That's all I can say. Yeah.
All right, Fuentang. Well, take care, man, and we'll see you again whenever season 27 is announced. But for folks, Fuentang mentioned it. He's got his own Twitch channel here where he broadcasts these events from his perspective. So if you want to follow him, make sure you do that here before you forget Fuentang here on Twitch. Now let's go to Racer X's brother. And I know we had a conversation last week, which was fantastic, but remind me again, which driver are you out there on the track? Is it D-Fire?
You got it, D-Fire.
There you go. A crazy race. I think I do believe you had maybe a disconnect there in the race. Just a crazy race.
It was a crazy race. I felt great. I did the work over the weekend, did a fuel run, figured out how I was going to just run 27s when everybody else was qualified at 24s. Was hanging in 10th. Went up to 9th, or actually 8th, then sort of back to 10th. my strategy was to pit at lap 11 or right, into lap 11 and then just go the rest of the race. It was all going great. And then I did that and then disconnected. Everybody was so cool to give me an opportunity to get back in the race. Sorry for the delay on the broadcast there.
That's okay.
Yeah. So a couple of guys actually disconnected in that period of time. So I think there was some sort of other issue going on with Xbox or something. Got back in and then just kind of blew it at the end. Was used to racing a car with about, 10 gallons and went back to 20 and just got a little crazy and ended up having to pit again. So, not much success at the end of the day, but man, what a great time and a great group of guys to race with.
Glad you enjoyed it despite the fact that your pit strategy basically went out the window. But we love the fact that you were able to get back in here and conclude this one, because there's nothing more frustrating than to get so far through a race, have a disconnect, and then you're just watching from the sidelines from that point. But I think that speaks to the brotherhood that is the FM4 team, that they said, hey, let's go ahead and throw the red flag out. Let's get everybody back in the lobby and let's finish this thing out right. Talking with Racer X's brother, otherwise known in the world of Xbox Live as D-Fire 999. All right, so I've been asking folks, heading into season 27, here we were in Formula Mazdas, but what are you looking forward to? What's really going to be more up your alley for D-Fire 999 in the next season?
I want something a little more horsepower. And something I can turn up to turn in. And I'll be happy. And that could be any variety of cars, old, any more modern cars. I'm good with it. I love the challenge.
And if you could throw, if you had your chance, and of course all of the drivers in FM4 do, if they're able to guess the car correctly for the next season, will be able to pick one of the tracks. If you get that opportunity to throw in a name of one of the tracks, what's it going to be?
Oh, guessing a track or guessing a car?
Well, I think if I understand it correctly, in FM4, if you guess the car correctly, they'll post up some photos. You can guess what the car is, and then at that point, if you guess correctly, then you get to throw in one of the tracks as one of the venues that you visit in season 27. So if there's any course here in Forza Motorsport 7 that you would like to see racing at next, where would it be?
Yeah, the Suzuka in the rain.
Suzuka in the rain. Oh man. And you want more horsepower and rain?
Yeah.
Wow.
You gotta look for an edge wherever you can.
That's top level masochism right there. You want to be in the rain with more horsepower, and who knows what car the champion's ultimately going to pick. Hey, D-Fire, great chatting with you here these last 2 weeks. I've got Slow Motion Fire, I think, who's going to give us the final results here. So we look forward to seeing you in season 27. Best of luck to you then, and until then, best to you in terms of your real world ventures and out on the virtual circuit.
Yeah, we'll see you next season, and thanks so much to Slow Motion for putting this on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And speaking of Slow Motion Fire, let's go ahead and bring him in here, and let's see if he's got an announcement for us. Slow Motion Fire, can you confirm anything for us?
Yeah, Salty is the points champion for the driver's points.
And back behind him, Cratrium, correct? I think that's how that's going to fall.
It actually goes Salty Bonkos, then Mr. Biggie, then Cratrium.
Okay, so Mr. Biggie, although entering week number 5 at the top of the leaderboard, is only going to drop down 1 with Cratrium hanging tight there in third. Man, all kinds of crazy racing out in the front. Obviously, for some of the drivers, not ideal to have a race start, but really, again, it all goes back to kind of the brotherhood that you've established here in FM4 to say, hey, let's bring some of these drivers back into the fold. Let's conclude this thing with as many of the guys as we can. What factors do you consider when making that decision?
For the restarts in the endurance race, we've always got the rule that we'll call a caution if anybody gets disconnected and then they're able to get back into the lobby. A longer race, it's a double points race, so we just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to finish that, especially since it's the end of the season.
Talking with Slow Motion Fire, who just mentioned that Salty Broncos is the Season 26 champion, with Mr. Biggie there in second, Cratrim in third, and those results, you'll be able to find those over at reddit.com/r/FM4. You said in the pit lane, yes, if you guess the car correctly, you get to pick a track. So that's always a fun thing about the FM4, is that the champion doesn't only get bragging rights, but they get to pick the next vehicle. What can folks expect in terms of the cadence of how things are going to roll out here for Season 27?
But we're going to have a couple gap weeks here, and then I look for test and tune night to start kind of the end of, so kind of around the 30th maybe, we'll start Season 27.
Okay, and
Time
then,
for,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said give people a little bit of breathing space here between seasons. And
Yeah.
I know you got some of your races coming up on Sundays.
Yep. Yeah, give these drivers a little bit of time to breathe, have a little bit of fun out on the track. So even if you are looking to participate in Season 27, also join these guys and gals for some off-season action. We've asked a couple of our drivers now here, if you're thinking about racing with the FM4 crew, regardless of your skill level, definitely jump in. Tell folks before they make that decision, though, what are some of the expectations? Albeit they're pretty, realistic and pretty simple. But what are those expectations for anybody who's looking to do this for 5 weeks, 9 races at a time?
I mean, the big ones are just, racing clean. We're just out here to have fun. On the line, should you win or lose? So, clean racing, being a good sport, and mandatory thing is we want you to have Discord so you can talk with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was huge here out at Long Beach. We jumped in a couple of times just to listen in, but with all the cars that were getting turned around and some of the vehicles entering and exiting pit lane, communication can make all the difference out there on the track. We're talking with Slow Motion Fire, the race organizer here for the Forza Motorsport Spec Racing Series. If you had your pick as the commissioner, if you will, what would your car of choice be? Where would you like to go? Something a little bit more high performance or less performance? What are you hoping for?
My choice would be something a little bit slower again.
Yeah. Like Fiat X19 slow?
Quite that slow, but we'll see what car actually gets chosen, because I can talk about my dream car till I'm blue in the face, but it doesn't do me a bit of good.
Yeah. All right. Well, Slow, I'll echo the sentiments of some of our drivers who have already said, thanks for putting this on. And I know that can be said for all the drivers who have participated not only here in Season 26, but obviously in past seasons. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present these. I know you and I will, on the side here, we'll talk about what that looks like for the presentations. But it's been my pleasure being the broadcast partner here, and I look forward to seeing what the future of FM4 holds.
You too. It's been great having you do these broadcasts. They really help promote the series a lot. And thanks to all the drivers that come out and race with us. I could do all the organizing in the world, and it wouldn't do us any good if nobody actually showed up to drive the cars. So thanks to all of them.
Very good. I think that's a good way to wrap things up. So, Slow Motion Fire, my thanks to you again and all of the folks who have raced here in Season 26, not just those 24 names that were on the leaderboard that we posted up earlier, but there are a handful of other names who participated, just didn't make the leaderboard, and those definitely those of you who have tuned in to watch the action here live on Twitch. Without you all, I would just be somebody talking to myself for the entirety of the race. Although I can do that, and I much rather have you all here with me, and I look forward to Season 27 if we do indeed broadcast those, and I look forward to your engagement there in the pit lane. But before we get too far out into the future, let's look ahead to April 7th there with the Mileage Masters Throwback Multi-Class. Yes, the lobby is already full. The registration has already been open and has filled up the grid of 21 drivers, although we do have a wait list. So if some of our drivers happen not to show up, which did happen on our last event, we had 3 drivers not show up. If that happens, we will be turning to the wait list to see who else might be joining us out on the track. So go over, register, get on that wait list. We'll get you loaded into the racer lobby, the racer lounge in our Discord. and that being the Shadow Edge Media Discord, which you can find down below at twitch.tv/Shadow Edge Media. And we'll get you out there on the track on April 7th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll have a little bit of qualifying, just 2 laps of qualifying. Qualifying will go very, very quickly, and then we'll get out there on the grid for a standing start. We'll allow the prototypes to go first, and then I think 20 seconds later is when we'll release the GT class. So we'll have prototypes, early prototypes, and then the GT Racing Reborn class there in that race on April 7th. And if you're not locked in for that event, join us in the pit lane. It's going to be a great one. We always have a very good audience on Sunday mornings for folks that are looking for some Sunday racing virtual-wise before maybe before the real world events get kicked off. We get a good crowd, a great reception going here, and we're going to have all kinds of fun. Then, for those of you who are wondering, well, what's next for this channel here on Tuesday, since this is a Tuesday and we won't have any FM Forza broadcast, we'll be back at it in Forza Horizon 4 with Be a Better Forzatographer. Tips and tricks how to take photos in the world of Forza Horizon 4. And, of course, that's just not me giving the tips. That also includes you all getting involved and maybe helping me out to make my pictures look as best as possible next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Shadow Edge Media. Until then, y'all take care. Thank you all again to the FM4 folks, the racers, you as the spectators. It's been an absolute pleasure for the past 5 weeks of commentating and spectating these events. I do look forward to having the opportunity again in Season 27, and I look forward to having you all back. And yes, I have thrown back up there the Mileage Masters event, April 7th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Be there or be square. If you get any more racing action in, either in the virtual world or in the real world, keep it safe, keep it fun, keep it clean. As always, adios and goodbye. Until next time.